Grace, you need to understand what you've done. How could you leave your duties as a wife and cause problems for William? You're a terrible wife. I'll teach you a lesson. Well, Mother, I had my reasons for leaving. It doesn't matter. We're moving to a nice, new apartment. If you want to come live with us, I'll tell you where it is. I'm sure my mother-in-law has no idea what's really going on. Well, that works in my favor. No, I don't want to live with you. My name is Grace, I'm 35 years old, and I work in an office. My husband, William, and I have been married for 5 years. He's 40, 5 years older than me. I used to date older guys, but I was drawn to William because he was kind and generous. Our relationship was good, so we got married. Things were fine at first, but soon, things started to go wrong. I lost my job. Then, William got fired too. The reason? The company he worked for wasn't doing well because of the recession. I never imagined that he'd get fired because he worked for a big company. I thought we'd always have money, but nothing is ever guaranteed. Suddenly, we didn't have enough money. I was a stay-at-home wife, but I decided to go back to work. I called my old company, and they agreed to hire me. A worker had just left to have a baby, so they needed someone. I was relieved that we would have some income again. I hoped William could find another job, but it wasn't easy for a man his age to get hired, so he ended up working part-time as a day laborer. His salary was about $700 a month. My pay wasn't much better. We were struggling. Hey, the rent is too high. Can we move to a cheaper place? I asked. If we want to save money, we need to cut our living costs. Before, when William made good money, we never worried about money. We lived in a nice apartment, but now I thought we should face reality and move somewhere cheaper. But he refused. No, we're not moving. Why not? If we move to a smaller, cheaper apartment, my mom will ask me why. So what? Just tell her the truth. We're struggling because you don't have a job now. When I said that, William got really angry. Don't ever tell my mother I'm unemployed. We can pay the rent with your salary and my part-time job. Just leave it at that. I was shocked. You care more about your pride and your house than about our marriage. Even though we could technically pay the rent, we were still having a hard time with everything else. That's why I suggested moving to a cheaper place, but William wouldn't listen. I had to drop it for now. Life kept being hard, especially after one day when William said something I couldn't believe. Is this all we're having for dinner? You used to make so many dishes. Just because you started working doesn't mean you can ignore your duties. Don't be lazy with managing the house, he complained. His words made me really angry, so I fired back. We don't have a choice. We're struggling. I'm doing my best at both work and home. If someone wasn't so proud and wanted to keep living here, we could save more money. Or maybe you could make more money, and everything could be like before. That made William snap. What the hell? Don't talk to me like that. I'll get another job at a good company and make more money than you, he shouted. He was angry, but I thought to myself, if this makes him want to work harder, maybe I can handle it. But he couldn't find a new job. In the first place, he had to work part-time as a day laborer. Even when he seemed motivated, he couldn't get hired anywhere. I would have understood if he had some extra qualifications or training, but he didn't. He just worked part-time. He got rejected at every interview and hated having to answer to younger people. Eventually, he gave up looking for a job, but he still believed he could make more money than me. I was disappointed and had lost hope, but it wasn't just William the first was worried about. Earlier that day, I got another phone call. It was my mother-in-law. She had called me repeatedly, even though I was at work. When I checked my phone during lunch, I saw there were more than 10 missed calls. When I called her back, her voice was sharp and high-pitched from the moment she answered. "Why didn't you answer the phone right away?" she demanded. "I told you before that I'm at work," I replied. "Come on, you call that work? My call should be your top priority." My mother-in-law lost her husband a year ago, so I knew she must be feeling really lonely and was calling me a lot more since then. I should support my mother-in-law, but all she says is that it's a wife's duty to support her husband, and now that I've started working, she's furious and keeps calling me at work. "Did you talk to William about this?" she asked. "You can't even answer my phone calls," she complained. "I'm sorry. It's hard for us to live with you now. I'm not asking for your opinion. William won't object to it." "No, William thinks it's too difficult. Plus, we're having financial problems." "How can there be financial problems? William works for a big company and makes good money. You two are rich, right? I don't know how to respond when she says things like that. William told me not to tell her the truth, so I can't. She calls me selfish for going to work, and she thinks I'm lying about our struggles. Her calls are so annoying, not just when I'm at work, but also at night when I'm home. She thinks a wife's first priority is supporting her husband and taking care of his mother too. You haven't come to see me lately, what's going on? She asked. I'm working full-time, and I'm exhausted. William works part-time on weekends, so we don't have the same days off. I'm sorry, we're both busy, but it's hard to fit visits into our schedules. Your schedule? William's off on weekends. You can come then, right? I could tell she's been upset for a while, and it was getting to me. I thought it was time to tell her the truth about William. No, William works on weekends, I tried to say. But just then, William, who was lying on the couch watching TV, grabbed my phone. Mom, I'm sorry I haven't been able to visit you. I'm working on a big project and even working weekends. I'll visit when I get a break, he said before hanging up and walking back to me. What were you doing? Were you about to tell my mom the truth? He demanded. Just tell her the truth. If you don't, she'll keep saying all these things because she doesn't know anything, I argued. I'm sorry, but don't tell my mom, he snapped. That's enough, keep your pride and tell her the truth, I said, getting frustrated. Shut up, I'm the one who keeps us going. Thank me instead of talking back to me, he shouted, then went back to his room. I feel like I'm about to break. I can't fix our financial problems. William and his mother are both pushing me to the edge. It's too much. William says his job is too hard, but he doesn't do housework. His job isn't full-time, he works weekends and 1 day a week. He could do something to help increase our income or at least help out around the house. Why do you do nothing at home and expect me to do everything? William asked. I couldn't take it anymore, so I decided to leave for a while. I went to stay at my parents' house for a week to show William how hard housework really is. I told my parents what was going on, and they suggested I should divorce William right away, but we were in love, and we'd been married for 5 years. I didn't want to end things so easily. If I was going to divorce him, I wanted to make sure I tried everything first. If that didn't work, then I'd consider divorce. While I was at my parents' house, William called me. When are you coming home? Where's my mail? He asked. I won't be back for a while. You'll have to do all the housework while I'm gone, I replied. That's ridiculous. Just come home and do the chores, he insisted. No, I won't. You know how hard housework is. You can clean, do the laundry, cook, do everything yourself. You need to understand how tough it is to manage the house while I'm working. I decided I didn't care anymore, so I ignored his calls. Staying at my parents' house was a relief. For the first time in a long time, I could share the housework with my dad and mom. My mom would say, "You must be tired," and prepare lots of home-cooked meals. I appreciated not having to do anything while the food was ready for me. I stayed for about a week, but it was hard to stay longer because my parents' house is far from my office, about an hour and a half each way. So, I decided it was time to go back to our house. I was worried it might be a mess, but when I got there, I found it cleaner than expected. However, something felt off. I went to William's room and noticed his clothes and suitcase were gone. I figured he must have gone to his mom's place, so I called him. Why are you calling me now? He answered. Where are you? I asked. I'm at my parents' house, he said. You didn't go there right after I left, did you? Yeah, I did. What's the big deal? You shouldn't have left in the first place. I'm already upset, and I'm not going back to that house. What do you mean? I asked, confused. I'm going to live with my mom. We're moving to a new apartment. I didn't understand what he meant, and before I could respond, his mom picked up the phone. Grace, do you have any idea what you've done? You've abandoned your duty as a wife and caused trouble for William. You're a terrible wife, and I'm going to teach you a lesson. Well, Mother, I have my reasons for leaving. It doesn't matter. We're moving into a new, nice apartment. If you want to come live with us, I'll tell you where it is. I knew my mother-in-law didn't know what was really going on. That worked in my favor, so I said, no thank you. What? She asked, shocked. I'm not going, I repeated. Are you serious? If William's going to live with me, you'll have to be on your own. Can you live alone? You've always relied on him, I replied. Don't worry, I've heard enough to live on my own, she said. If we're not living together, then there's no reason to stay married. I'm divorcing him, I said firmly. What? Her voice was filled with surprise and shock. Grace, there's no need to talk about divorce, she protested. I can't stay married to him anymore. I need to get rid of a husband like that as soon as possible, I said. My mother-in-law snapped. How dare you talk to William like that? We don't want a life like yours either. Fine, William, get a divorce, she said angrily. No, William replied. I'll prepare the divorce papers. You'll regret this, and it's too late for an apology, my mother-in-law added. Same to you, I said, and hung up. When I hung up the phone, I knew that my ex-mother-in-law and William would likely be here soon with the divorce papers. I was actually relieved. Things were finally going the way I wanted. William hadn't changed at all and had gone back to his mother's place. That made it easier for me to stick to my decision. If he wasn't willing to change, there was no reason for us to stay together. I packed my bags and waited. A few hours later, my mother-in-law arrived, along with the divorce papers. Oh, William isn't here, she remarked. He doesn't need to be, I replied, feeling a sense of finality. Here we go. I had him fill out his section. Now, you just need to fill out yours. She handed me the divorce papers. As I looked at the papers, I noticed William's section was filled with shaky handwriting. My William is such a wonderful man, she said, her voice dripping with bitterness. Even though he's married to a horrible wife like you, he's still reluctant to get a divorce. I'll never forgive you for causing trouble for such a great person. I hope you live a poor life and regret it, she continued, her words sharp and venomous. While I filled out my part of the form, my mother-in-law didn't stop ranting at me. It was clear that William's pride had gotten in the way. He couldn't even be honest with his own mother. What a pathetic man he was. She kept on. What happened to your house? I saw it. Well, if you want to come over, there's no place for you now, I shot back. No, I won't, she responded quickly. How much did you sell it for? She asked, almost casually. It was an old house, so it wasn't much, I replied. That's none of your business, but I'll tell you, since I'm being generous, I sold it for $50,000, not much, but enough for retirement. William will pay for our new apartment, she said, trying to sound smug. Wow, I'm surprised you got approved for that, I commented. What are you talking about? William is a high-class person. It's a given, she said dismissively. So, you put the money in William's account? I asked. How did you know that? That's not important. Stop asking about it. And you're just a divorced woman now, she snapped. So, obviously, you're still into him, but it's too late, I said, trying to get under her skin. Don't worry, I've already agreed to the divorce, I said. How are the divorce papers coming along? At that, she snapped, her anger boiling over. She left, leaving me overjoyed to be rid of her and William for good. I moved the rest of my things to my parents' house. At my parents' place, I found everything I needed to start fresh. I picked out things for a single person's apartment. Feeling free for the first time in a long while, I had finally gotten rid of the poverty I had been stuck in. I'm not going to give you William's property, get used to it, I said, recalling William's pale face when we discussed the division of property. I couldn't help but laugh at the memory. Then, about 2 years later, I got a call from an unknown number. I wasn't sure who it could be, but I thought it might be work-related, so I picked up. To my surprise, it was my ex-mother-in-law. Oh my God, Grace, please help me, she cried. Mother, you can't keep calling me that. We're strangers now, I replied coldly. Don't say that, I'm in trouble, she begged. Huh? You can't pay your rent, and your savings are running low? I asked, already knowing what she was going to say. He didn't tell you about the financial problem, did he? You two got broke, and he never said anything. Oh, you knew? I replied, trying to keep my composure. I knew he didn't want to tell you, but every time I tried to talk to you, William told me not to, she explained, sounding defeated. I didn't know. I'm so sorry, Grace, I didn't understand. Please, I need your help, she pleaded. I don't want to help you, I said firmly. He wouldn't change, no matter how much I tried. And you were always bullying me. I don't want to spend time with people like you ever again. Please, don't say that. I don't have anything to eat. I'm really dying, she sobbed. According to my ex-mother-in-law, William had been trying to keep up appearances. He had been hiding their financial troubles. using the money from the sale of the family home to pay rent and pretending everything was fine. His mother would get suspicious if he didn't show some extravagance every now and then. He spent a lot of money on expensive groceries and fancy meals. Because of that, he quickly used up the $50,000. Now, he's broke. Well, he got what he deserved, didn't he? I told him, why don't you put your pride aside and live in a cheap apartment? But my ex-mother-in-law cried and said, this wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to live comfortably with my successful son. I quietly ended the call and blocked her number. I even put a restraining order on her, just in case I needed to call the police. All they do is rely on others, whether it's parents or children. They're the same. I learned a lot from them. I'm focusing on living independently. I'm going to focus on my own life and leave behind the truth about a husband who refuses to live within his means, and a mother-in-law who only blames her daughter-in-law without ever questioning her son. I'm so glad Grace could cut ties with such a terrible mother and son. Now, she can live her own life. I hope she meets a wonderful man in the future. I wish her a happy life from now on. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. See you in the next video.
I came home to find my life scattered on the lawn like trash. Clothes, books, my laptop bag, the quilt my mom made me when I was 8, dumped in a pile next to the mailbox. A pair of my underwear was hanging off the edge of the box like a flag of surrender. I stood there, frozen, holding my keys, backpack slipping off my shoulder, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Brenda stood on the porch, arms crossed, sipping from a wine glass even though it was barely 4 p.m. She didn't even flinch when she saw me. "Happy birthday," she said, voice syrupy sweet. "You're 20 now. Time to grow up and get out." My name is Genesis. And that was the moment I realized my father didn't just marry a new woman, he handed my entire life over to a stranger and let her burn it down. I didn't say anything at first, just walked slowly toward the pile, numb. I could hear Ava laughing behind the screen door, the kind of laugh that made your skin crawl. I saw my journal, my mom's handwriting on the first page, and I dropped to my knees, yanking it out from under a half-eaten granola bar wrapper. "What the hell is this?" I finally said, my voice shaking. Brenda shrugged. "House rules. You're not a kid anymore. We need the space." "For what?" I snapped. "So Ava can have her own walk-in closet?" She smirked. "Among other things." I looked up at the window and saw Nash peeking through the blinds. He ducked away when our eyes met. Typical. He always watched, but never said a word. I stood up, fists clenched. "Where's my dad?" Brenda took another sip. "At work. He agrees this is for the best." Bullshit. But also not entirely surprising. My dad hadn't looked me in the eye in months. Ever since Brenda moved in, he'd become this hollow version of himself. Like someone had scooped out his spine and filled him with fear and guilt. It wasn't always like this. After my mom died, it was just the two of us for about a year. We were broken, but we were trying. He cooked, I cleaned. We cried in the kitchen sometimes. We watched old movies and ate popcorn on the couch. Then Brenda showed up. She came with a fake smile, perfect nails, and 2 kids who treated our house like it was a hotel. At first, she pretended to be nice. She'd compliment my hair, ask about school, offer to help with laundry. But it was all surface. Underneath, she was calculating. Every compliment had a hook in it. Every smile came with a price. She started small, rearranged the living room, said it needed a woman's touch, moved my mom's favorite vase into the garage. Then it was the photos. One by one, they disappeared from the walls. I'd find them in drawers, boxes, once even in the trash. When I confronted her, she'd blink innocently. "Oh, I thought we agreed to freshen things up. Your mom wouldn't want the house to feel like a shrine." She always said that. Your mom wouldn't want. She didn't know my mom. She didn't deserve to say her name. 3 weeks ago, I came home and found my mom's photo album, our family vacations, birthdays, her hospital selfies when she was trying to stay brave. Gone. Brenda claimed she never touched it, but I found it in the bottom of a garbage bag, soaked in coffee grounds. Now this. "Get off the lawn," she said, like I was some delivery she didn't order. "You're embarrassing yourself." I stared at her, my mouth dry. You don't get to do this. She raised an eyebrow. Actually, I do. Joseph and I are married. This is our house now. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Screaming wouldn't change anything. Brenda thrived on chaos. She wanted me to lose control so she could play the victim. Instead, I picked up my laptop bag and the quilt. I turned around without another word and walked down the driveway. I didn't even make it to the end of the block before I started crying. I ended up at the park, sitting on a bench under the big oak tree. My hands were shaking. My phone buzzed with a text from Rohan. Happy birthday! Want to grab cake later? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just stared at the sky, trying to breathe through the anger and the grief and the humiliation. Then I remembered the envelope. 2 months ago, my grandmother, my mom's mom, had pressed it into my hand after Sunday lunch. Don't open it until your 20th birthday, she said. Your mom wanted you to have this. She made me promise. I hadn't thought much of it. I tucked it into the back of my desk drawer and forgot about it. Now I pulled it out of my bag and stared at it. My name was written in my mom's handwriting. Bold, slanted, alive. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were 3 things. A letter, a legal-looking document, and a small silver key. The letter was short. Genesis. If you're reading this, it means I'm not there to fight for you, so I made sure you could fight for yourself. This house is not Brenda's. It's not your father's. It's yours. Starting today. Tell Aunt Jacqueline. She'll know what to do. Love you always. Mom. I blinked, reading the words over and over. The document was a trust agreement. It named me as the sole owner of the house effective on my 20th birthday, which was today. I sat there for a long time, the paper fluttering in my hands, heart racing. Brenda thought she won. She didn't know what was coming. I called Aunt Jacqueline from the park. She picked up on the second ring. Genesis? Her voice was sharp, alert. I opened the envelope, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She left me the house. There was a pause, then a breath. Good, I was wondering when you'd remember it. She threw me out, I said. Brenda, on my birthday. My stuff's in the yard. Another pause. You have the papers? Right here. Listen to me carefully, she said. You walk back in there. You don't yell. You don't cry. You show her the documents and you tell her she has 30 days to vacate. No more, no less. I don't know if I can. You can. Your mother made sure of it. Now go and call me when it's done. I hung up and stared at the trust papers again. My name, clear as day. The ownership transfer date, today. I didn't understand half the legal jargon, but the bold line at the bottom was impossible to miss. Beneficiary, Genesis. I stood up, wiped my face, and walked back toward the house. When I got there, my stuff was still on the lawn. Brenda was gone from the porch, but the front door was wide open. I stepped over my jeans and textbooks and walked inside like I'd never left. The living room smelled like her perfume, too sweet, like rotting fruit. Ava was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, legs draped over the armrest like she owned the place. She looked up. Didn't take you long to crawl back. I ignored her and kept walking. Brenda was in the kitchen, pouring herself another glass of wine. She turned when she heard me. Well, look who... I dropped the papers on the counter in front of her. She blinked. What's this? Proof, I said. This house isn't yours, it's mine. My mom set up a trust. It transferred to me today on my 20th birthday. She laughed. You're joking. Read it. She picked up the papers, eyes scanning the page. Her smile twitched, then vanished. What is this crap? She snapped. This isn't legal. It is, I said calmly. My aunt's the trustee. You have 30 days to leave. Joseph walked in from the garage, wiping his hands with a rag. He looked between us. What's going on? Brenda shoved the papers at him. Your daughter thinks she owns the house. He stared at the document. His face went pale. Joe, Brenda said, voice rising. Say something. He didn't. He just kept reading. I stepped closer. Did you know? Did you sign this? He looked at me, eyes hollow. I thought it was part of the will. Something your mom wanted in case. In case what? I asked. In case you remarried a woman who threw your daughter out on her birthday? Genesis, please. No. You stood there and let her humiliate me. You let her erase Mom from this house, and you said nothing. Brenda slammed her glass down. This is ridiculous. We've lived here for 2 years. You can't just kick us out. I can, I said, and I will. Ava stormed in. Are you serious right now? You think you can just waltz in and act like you run this place? I don't think, I said. I know. Brenda snatched the papers back. This isn't over. I'm calling a lawyer. Do that, I said. You've got 30 days. She glared at me, eyes full of venom. You think you're so clever, but this isn't what your mother would have wanted. I stepped closer, voice low. You don't get to speak for her. Joseph looked like he wanted to disappear. Can we just talk about this? Maybe? No, I said. You had your chance. I turned and walked out of the kitchen, heart pounding. Ava muttered something under her breath, but I didn't care. I went upstairs to my old room. My room, and shut the door behind me. It was still painted the soft blue my mom and I picked out when I was 15, but the posters were gone. The bookshelf was empty. The bed was stripped. I sat on the bare mattress and pulled out my phone. I texted Aunt Jacqueline. I told them, 30 days. They're pissed. She replied instantly, Good, I'll be there in the morning. We'll go over everything. I leaned back against the wall, still shaking. But it wasn't fear anymore. It was adrenaline. They thought they could push me out, erase me, take everything my mother built. But they didn't know who they were dealing with. This wasn't their house. It was mine. And I was just getting started. Brenda was already on the phone when I came downstairs the next morning. Her voice was sharp, fake sweet in that way people get when they're talking to someone they want to impress. Yes, I understand, but this is a very sudden situation. No, of course I didn't know about the trust. She turned her back when she saw me, hunching her shoulders like I couldn't still hear every word. I walked past her into the kitchen and started making coffee. The silence between us was thick, except for her voice trying to twist the story to whatever lawyer she had on the line. Ava stormed in next, wearing one of my old hoodies, my hoodie, with a scowl on her face. This is insane, she said. You can't just evict us. I didn't look at her. I gave you 30 days. That's more than fair. She scoffed. You're such a bitch. I poured my coffee and turned to face her. And you're still in my house. Ava's mouth opened, but she didn't have a comeback. She stormed out, muttering under her breath. Jacqueline showed up 15 minutes later, wearing sunglasses and carrying a manila folder under her arm. She didn't even knock, just walked in like she owned the place. Morning, she said, nodding at me. Where's the queen? In the living room, on the phone. Jacqueline smirked. Perfect. She marched in, heels clicking against the hardwood. Brenda was mid-sentence when she spotted her. Oh, I'll have to call you back, Brenda said quickly, hanging up. What are you doing here? Making sure Genesis doesn't get steamrolled by your nonsense, Jacqueline said, setting the folder down on the coffee table. Let's go over the facts. Joseph wandered in, looking like he hadn't slept. Jacqueline, maybe we could all just sit down. No need, she said. This isn't a negotiation. She opened the folder and pulled out a copy of the trust document, along with a notarized letter from the estate attorney. This house legally belongs to Genesis. Lydia made sure of it. Joseph, you signed the paperwork 6 months before she passed. You may not have read it, but your signature's right here. She pointed to the line. Joseph leaned over, squinting. I thought it was just a will, he mumbled. She said it was about making sure Genesis was taken care of. She was, Jacqueline said, and now she's taking care of herself. Brenda, you have 30 days to vacate. After that, we file for legal eviction. Brenda's face twisted. You can't do this. We have rights. You don't, Jacqueline said, calm as ever. You're not on the deed. You're not on the trust. You're not even a tenant. You're a guest. And your invitation has expired. Ava came back in, arms crossed. What about us? We go to school here. We have lives. You should have thought about that before treating Genesis like garbage, Jacqueline snapped. Actions have consequences. Joseph sat down on the edge of the couch, hands in his lap. I didn't know it would come to this. You let it come to this, I said quietly. You watched it happen. He looked up at me, eyes tired. I didn't know how to stop it. You could have tried, I said. You didn't. Jacqueline handed me the folder. Keep this safe. It has all the documents you need. If they try anything, call me. Brenda stood up, shaking. You think you've won? This isn't over. Jacqueline smiled. Oh, honey, it's just beginning. We left the living room and walked back into the kitchen. Jacqueline poured herself a cup of coffee like she'd done it 100 times. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah, just tired. She leaned against the counter. There's more in that trust than just the house. Lydia was smart. She didn't trust anyone, not after what she suspected. I looked at her. Suspected what? Jacqueline gave me a long look. We'll get into it. But first, you need to find the key. What key? She pulled a small note from her purse. It had my mom's handwriting on it. Genesis. Look inside the red box in my keepsake drawer. The key is taped underneath. You'll know what to do when the time comes. My stomach twisted. I think I know where that is. Good. When you find it, call me. There's a safety deposit box. That's where the rest of the puzzle is. She sipped her coffee. Lydia didn't just leave you a house, she left you the truth. All of it. I nodded slowly, heart pounding. From the hallway, I heard Brenda slamming cabinets, Ava yelling something about lawyers. Nash's door creaked open upstairs, then shut again. Jacqueline looked toward the noise. They're going to make this hell for you. You know that, right? I know. You ready for it? I looked her in the eye. I've been ready since the day they moved in. She smiled. That's my girl. I found the red box that night. It was buried in the back of my mom's old dresser, the one Brenda had shoved into the garage after moving in. I had to move a pile of broken lawn chairs and a cracked mirror just to get to it. The box was dusty, but I recognized it instantly. My mom used to keep all her little treasures in there, movie stubs, letters, pressed flowers. I flipped it over and found the key taped underneath, just like the note said. It was small, silver, and cold in my hand. The next morning, I called Jacqueline. I found it, I said. Good. Meet me at the bank at noon. Bring ID. She hung up before I could ask anything else. When I got there, she was already waiting outside, dressed like she was heading to court. We walked in together, and 15 minutes later, a bank manager was unlocking a safety deposit box in a private room. Inside was a thick folder, a small flash drive, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. Jacqueline didn't say anything. She just nodded for me to open it. I started with the folder. It was filled with original trust documents. Some I had seen, others I hadn't. There were also printed emails, dozens of them. They were between my dad and Brenda, starting months before my mom died. One of them made my stomach turn. You said she wouldn't last the year. I'm not waiting forever, Joe. If you want this life with me, you need to make a decision. Another one. She's too stubborn to sign anything. You need to talk to the doctor about changing her care plan. I looked up at Jacqueline, my hands shaking. She knew, I whispered. Jacqueline nodded. She suspected the affair. She told me she felt like she was being pushed out of her own life. That's when she started moving things into the trust, quietly. She didn't want to believe it, but she wasn't stupid. I opened the envelope next. Inside was a handwritten letter. Genesis. If you're reading this, it means they tried to erase me, but they didn't win. I knew something wasn't right. Your father changed after Brenda came around. I didn't want to believe he'd betray me, but I couldn't risk leaving you with nothing. There's money, a second trust, $300,000. It's yours, but it's locked unless you bring this letter and the documents to the estate attorney. Jacqueline knows. Take back what's yours. Don't let them shame you for surviving. Love you always. Mom. I sat there for a long time, staring at her handwriting. It felt like she was in the room with me again. Jacqueline placed a hand on my arm. You okay? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I am. We left the bank and drove in silence. When I got home, the front door was wide open. Ava was screaming. You're not even trying. We can't just leave. This is our house, too. I stepped inside. Brenda was pacing, phone in hand, hair a mess. Do you think I'm not doing everything I can? She snapped. I've called every lawyer in the county. No one wants to touch it once they see the documents. Ava turned and saw me. This is your fault. I gave you 30 days, I said. You're wasting them. Brenda hung up and grabbed her wine glass. You think you're so clever, but you're not the only one who knows how to play the game. She stormed out of the room. Ava followed, slamming the basement door behind her. I walked into the kitchen and found Nash sitting at the table, headphones around his neck, staring at a cracked phone screen. He looked up, startled. Hey, he said. Hey. He shifted awkwardly. They're freaking out. I noticed. He hesitated. I didn't know about the trust, or the house, I swear. I believe you. He looked down. They're saying you cheated, that you manipulated everything. I laughed dryly. Yeah? How'd I do that? From the grave? He cracked a small smile. Just saying what I heard. There was a long pause. I didn't mean to break that photo, he said suddenly. The one of your mom, it just fell. I nodded. Thanks for saying that. He stood up. I'm not like them. I know. He walked out without another word. Later that night, I called Rohan. I need help going through some files, I said. You still good with computers? Always. Want me to come over? Yeah. He showed up with 2 energy drinks and a laptop. We sat on the floor of my room, going through the flash drive from the deposit box. Most of it was financial records, bank statements, transfers, emails. Then we found it, a spreadsheet. Brenda had been transferring small amounts of money, $200 here, $500 there, from my dad's account into one with her name on it. It went back over a year. She's been stealing from him, Rohan said. Looks like it. We kept digging, found a few more emails, one where Brenda told someone she was prepping the house for resale once the girl's gone. I sat back, heart pounding. She was planning to sell it, I said, after kicking me out. Rohan looked at me. You have everything you need now? You ready to burn it down? I met his eyes. Yeah, I said. Let's do it. Brenda refused to leave. She didn't even pretend to pack. Instead, she doubled down, walking around like she still ran the place, leaving passive-aggressive notes on the fridge and blasting music late at night. Ava started slamming doors and accidentally spilling drinks on my things. Nash kept to himself more, mostly hiding in his room with his headphones on. I started locking my bedroom door. One morning, I came downstairs and found the kitchen trashed. Plates in the sink, cereal spilled across the counter, milk dripping from the edge like someone had poured it out just to watch it fall. Ava stood there, arms crossed, chewing gum. Oops, she said. Guess you'll have to clean that up. I stared at her. Not my mess. She smirked. It's your house, isn't it? I didn't answer. I just turned and walked out. Later that day, I found the framed photo of my mom, one of the last we ever took together, shattered on the floor in the hallway. The glass was cracked, the frame bent. Nash came out of his room, saw it, and froze. I didn't mean to, he said quickly. I bumped it. I swear. I looked at him. He actually looked guilty. I believe you, I said, but maybe tell your sister to stop acting like a 5-year-old. He nodded, eyes low. She's just mad. She thinks you're ruining everything. I'm fixing what she never had a right to, I said. Big difference. That night, I sat in the garage with Rohan, going through more files. He had his laptop open, scrolling through emails we pulled from my dad's old account. Here, he said suddenly. Look at this one. It was an email chain between Brenda and my dad, dated 3 months before my mom died. Brenda. She's not getting better. You said we'd be together by Christmas. Dad. I'm doing what I can. She won't sign the papers. Brenda. Then talk to the doctor. You said you had influence. Use it. I stared at the screen, my skin crawling. She pushed him, I said, to change Mom's care. Rohan nodded. And he did it. We sat in silence for a minute. She trusted him, I said, and he let her down. Rohan looked at me. You're not him. I nodded, jaw tight. I know. The next day, I printed everything: emails, bank transfers, the trust documents. I put them in a folder and called a lawyer Jacqueline recommended. We met in her office, a small space downtown with too many books and a plant that looked like it hadn't been watered in weeks. She flipped through the folder, eyebrows raised. "This is solid," she said. "You've got enough to file for eviction and possibly fraud charges." "I want to do both," I said. She looked at me over her glasses. "You sure? This will get ugly." "They made it ugly the second they threw my life on the lawn." She nodded. "Okay, let's begin." Back at the house, Brenda was in the backyard, yelling into her phone while smoking a cigarette. Ava was filming herself in the mirror, probably for some TikTok. Nash was nowhere to be seen. I walked past them all and went straight to my room. That night, I left a copy of the eviction notice on the kitchen counter. I didn't say a word. The next morning, all hell broke loose. Brenda stormed into the living room, waving the paper like it was on fire. "You think this scares me?" she yelled. "You think you're going to win?" Joseph was sitting in the recliner, staring at the floor. He didn't say a word. "You're a spoiled brat," Brenda hissed at me. "Your mother poisoned you against your own father. She was always manipulative." I stood up. "Don't talk about her." "She left you a house and turned you into a monster," she snapped. "You're just like her." "If I were like her," I said, "you'd already be gone." Brenda's face twisted. "You think you're better than us?" "I don't have to think it," I said. "I just have to wait for the court date." She threw the notice across the room and stormed out. Joseph finally looked up. "Genesis?" I turned to him. "Don't." "I didn't know what I was doing," he said. "I didn't think it would go this far." "You didn't think at all," I said. "You let her take over. You let her hurt me. You let Mom die thinking she was alone." He stood up, hands shaking. "I was scared. I didn't know how to fix it." "You don't get to fix it now," I said. "You made your choice." He sat back down, eyes glassy. I walked out. Upstairs, I found Nash in the hallway. "I heard everything," he said. "Good." He looked at me. "I'm sorry." I nodded. "Me too." He hesitated. "If I leave with them? Do I have to?" I looked at him. "That's up to you." He opened his mouth like he wanted to say more, then closed it and walked back into his room. I went back to mine, locked the door, and sat down at my desk. The house was quiet now, but the war wasn't over. It was just changing shape. 2 days before the court date, I stood outside the bank with Rohan, the silver key in my hand. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked. I nodded. "It's time." Inside, we were led to a private room where the safety deposit box waited. I unlocked it slowly, heart pounding. The box slid open with a metallic clunk. Inside was another folder, thicker than the first, and a small voice recorder with a sticky note. "Play me when you're alone." I grabbed everything and we left without saying much. Back home, I locked my bedroom door and sat on the floor with Rohan. I pressed play. My mom's voice filled the room. "Genesis, if you're hearing this, it means they tried to erase me. But they didn't win. I knew Brenda was dangerous the moment I saw how your father looked at her. I wanted to believe it was just grief, but it wasn't." Rohan glanced at me, but said nothing. I started recording things, conversations, emails. I couldn't prove much at first, but then he started talking about changing my care plan, about how tired he was, about how it might be better if I just let go. My hands tightened around the recorder. I was scared, not of dying, of leaving you with them. That's why I made the trust. That's why I gave Jacqueline the authority. I didn't want to believe he'd betray me, but I couldn't risk it. I'm sorry. I love you, and I know you'll be stronger than both of them. The recording clicked off. Rohan exhaled. Jesus. She knew, I whispered. She knew everything. We opened the folder next. Inside were more documents, bank statements, emails, and a notarized letter from Mom's doctor. It confirmed that her care plan had been altered without her full consent. She was right, I said. They pushed her into hospice early. Rohan pointed to the statements. And look at this. Brenda's been slowly draining your dad's savings, over $20,000 in small transfers. She's been stealing from him the whole time. I stood up, grabbed my phone, and called Jacqueline. We found everything, I said. The recordings, the financials, the medical stuff. Brenda's done. Good, she said. Send it all to the lawyer. We'll file charges before a court. I hung up and turned to Rohan. Let's finish this. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and found Brenda sitting at the table, wine glass in hand, even though it was barely 9 a.m. She looked up at me, eyes bloodshot. You think you've won? I don't think, I said. I know. She laughed bitterly. You don't understand what it's like to lose everything. You mean like having your mom die and your dad replace her with a woman who threw out her pictures? She slammed the glass down. I gave this house a second chance. I made it livable again. You made it toxic. She stood, trembling. You're just a spoiled little girl playing grown-up. I'm a homeowner with a lawyer, I said, and you're leaving in 2 days. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind her. That night, Joseph knocked on my door. I opened it halfway, arms crossed. I heard about the charges, he said quietly. Then you know what's coming. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. I didn't know she was stealing from me. You knew she was hurting me. He looked down. I didn't know how to stop it. I stepped aside and let him in. He sat on the edge of my bed, hands clasped. I made mistakes, he said. I was weak. After your mom died, I didn't know how to be alone. So you let her replace everything, even me. He looked up, eyes wet. I didn't mean to. But you did it anyway. He nodded. I'm sorry. I sat across from him. You don't get to fix this with an apology. I know, he whispered. He stood up and walked to the door. I'll be at court. I won't fight it. You shouldn't. He paused. I loved your mother. I just didn't know how to love her right. I didn't answer. He left without saying anything else. The next morning, I walked into the living room to find Nash sitting on the stairs with a duffel bag. You leaving early? I asked. He nodded. A friend's letting me crash for a bit. I nodded back. Good call. He stood up, hesitated, then handed me a folded piece of paper. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. I opened it after he left. It was short. Thanks for not treating me like trash, even when everyone else did. I folded it up and tucked it into my drawer. Court was the next day, and I was ready. Court felt colder than it should have, not the temperature, just the air. Stiff, tense, like everyone in the room was holding their breath. I sat next to my lawyer at the front, my folder of documents clutched in my lap. Jacqueline was behind me, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Rohan had offered to come, but I told him no. This part I needed to do by myself. Brenda walked in 10 minutes late, wearing a tight black dress and oversized sunglasses like she was auditioning for a soap opera. Ava trailed behind her, chewing gum and glaring at me like I'd kicked her puppy. Joseph came in last. He didn't sit with them. He sat in the back row by himself, hands folded, eyes low. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Then we got started. My lawyer opened with the trust documents, laying out the timeline, my mother's death, the transfer of the house on my 20th birthday, the eviction notice, and Brenda's refusal to leave. Then came the evidence. Your Honor, my lawyer said, we have reason to believe the respondent not only attempted an unlawful eviction of my client, but also committed financial fraud and coercion during the final months of the previous homeowner's life. She handed over the emails, the bank transfers, the notarized letter from the doctor, the audio recording. The judge listened to my mom's voice in silence. When the recording ended, he looked up at Brenda. Do you have a response to these allegations? Brenda stood, smoothing her dress. Your Honor, this is a personal vendetta. This girl has been hostile since I married her father. She's twisting things. That recording, who knows when it was made? The date is embedded in the metadata, my lawyer said, and the doctor has verified the care changes were not fully consented to. Brenda's lips tightened. I didn't force anyone to do anything. I was trying to support my husband. We were grieving. And the money? The judge asked. The transfers from his account to yours? She hesitated. That was agreed upon for household expenses. Joseph stood up suddenly. No, it wasn't. Everyone turned. I didn't agree to any of that, he said. She told me she'd take care of the bills. I didn't know she was moving money into her personal account. Brenda's head whipped around. Joe, what are you doing? He looked at her, then at me. Telling the truth. The judge nodded slowly. Thank you for clarifying. Ava started whispering loudly, and the judge shot her a glare. Miss, if you can't remain quiet, I'll ask you to leave. She slumped back in her seat. My lawyer continued. Your Honor, my client has made every reasonable effort to resolve this peacefully. She gave the respondents 30 days to vacate. They refused. She has legal ownership of the property and is now seeking formal removal. The judge looked down at the papers in front of him, then back up. I've reviewed the evidence. The trust is valid. The transfer of ownership is clear. The eviction notice was lawful. Additionally, the financial documentation and audio recording raise serious concerns that may warrant further investigation. Brenda's mouth dropped open. Therefore, the judge continued, I am granting the eviction order. The respondents have 72 hours to vacate the premises. Any further resistance will result in law enforcement involvement. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Brenda exploded. This is insane. That house is mine. I made it a home. The judge banged his gavel once. You are dismissed, ma'am. She turned to Joseph. You spineless piece of... Don't, he said. Just stop. She stormed out, Ava chasing after her, still shouting about how unfair everything was. I stood up and turned to Joseph. He looked at me, eyes full of something I couldn't name. I'm sorry, he said again. I walked over, folder still in hand. You could have stopped this, I said. You chose her. He nodded, slow and heavy. I know. I didn't say anything else. I just walked past him and out the door. Jacqueline caught up with me outside. You did it. I nodded. Yeah, I did. You okay? No, I said. But I will be. Back at the house, Brenda's car was already gone. Ava's bedroom door was wide open, clothes and makeup scattered across the floor. Nash's room was empty too, bed stripped, notes still tucked in my drawer. I walked into the kitchen and sat down at the table. Everything was quiet. The war was over, but the silence felt like a bruise. I painted the walls myself. Jacqueline offered to hire someone, but I said no. I needed to do it. The soft blue my mom and I picked when I was 15 was gone, replaced with a warm, deep green. Something new, something mine. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, sipping coffee. You missed a spot. I turned, grinning. Liar. She laughed. Maybe, but I like watching you work. I dipped the roller again. Feels good, like I'm scrubbing them off the walls. Jacqueline walked in and set the coffee down. The studio's coming together. I nodded, one room at a time. We spent the rest of the afternoon putting up shelves and unpacking boxes I hadn't touched in years. Old notebooks, sketch pads, scraps of my mom's handwriting. I found a photo of us at the beach, her in a sun hat, me with a mouthful of ice cream. Jacqueline sat beside me on the floor. She'd be proud. I hope so. She touched my shoulder. She would. Later that evening, I heard the front door creak open. I walked out of the studio and found Nash standing in the hallway holding a small box. Hey, he said. Hey. He held out the box. Some of your stuff ended up in my room. Thought you might want it. I took it and peeked inside. A few of my books, a necklace my mom gave me, and my favorite mug. Thanks. He shifted awkwardly. I'm staying with a friend. Not sure what's next. You'll figure it out. He nodded. I just wanted to say, you didn't deserve any of it. And I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. I looked at him. You said something when it mattered. He gave a small smile. Ava's still posting about you, saying you faked everything, that you tricked everyone. Let her. He hesitated. People aren't buying it. I know. He looked around the house, then back at me. It feels different now. It is. He nodded again, then turned to leave. Take care of yourself, Genesis. You too. He walked out the door without looking back. The next morning, I got a text from Joseph. Can I see you? Just to talk. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Come by at noon. 15 minutes. That's it. He was on time, knocked once, then waited. I opened the door and let him in without a word. He looked around like he was seeing the house for the first time. You painted? Yeah. It looks good. I didn't respond. He sat down at the kitchen table. I moved into a small place. Not much, but it's mine. I stayed standing. He cleared his throat. I didn't come to ask for anything. I just wanted you to know. I've started counseling. I'm trying to figure out how I let it all happen. I crossed my arms. You didn't just let it happen. You helped her. He nodded. I know. I needed you, I said. And you picked her. I was weak. You were a coward. He looked down. I was. We sat in silence for a moment. I loved your mother, he said quietly. Not enough. He flinched but didn't argue. I don't hate you, I said, but I don't trust you, and I don't think I want you in my life right now. He nodded slowly. I understand. He stood and walked to the door, then paused. If you ever change your mind. I didn't answer. He left. That night I sat on the back porch with Rohan. We watched the sky turn orange behind the trees. The garden my mom started was overgrown, but the roses were still blooming. You ever think about selling? He asked. I shook my head. This house is mine. I'm not running from it. He nodded. Good. He leaned back, hands behind his head. You know, for a girl who got tossed out on her birthday, you came back like a wrecking ball. I smiled. Had to. He looked at me. So, what now? I stood and walked to the garden, brushing my fingers over the petals. I rebuild. Later, I sat on my bed and opened the last part of my mom's letter. I hadn't read it all before. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Let them try to destroy you. Everything they build on lies will fall apart on truth. You don't owe anyone your silence, your comfort, or your forgiveness. Own your name, own your story, and never let them make you small. I folded it back up and placed it in the drawer next to Nash's note. Then I walked outside, barefoot, into the garden. The air was cool. The stars were just starting to peek through. I knelt beside the roses, pulled a few weeds, and whispered, Mom didn't leave me a house. I stood up, dirt on my hands, heart steady. She left me justice.
The day I lost everything started like any other Tuesday at Bradley's bakery. The bell chimed as customers filed in for their morning coffee and pastries, the aroma of fresh-baked bread filling the air. I had no idea my husband was about to destroy 15 years of my family's hard work in less than 15 minutes. I'm Tatum, and until that morning, I thought I knew what betrayal felt like. I was wrong. Morning, sunshine. Darren's voice carried across the bakery as he strolled in, pristine suit and perfect smile intact. He kissed my cheek, but something felt off. The way he glanced around the shop, like he was cataloguing every detail. You're here early, I said, sliding a tray of croissants into the display case. Thought you had that big meeting today. Oh, I do. He drummed his fingers on the counter. Actually, that's why I'm here. Your dad around? Before I could answer, Dad emerged from the kitchen, flour dusting his apron. Darren, good to see you, son. What happened next plays in my mind like a slow-motion car crash. Darren pulled out a stack of papers, speaking in that smooth voice he used to close deals. So, I've been looking over the bakery's finances, and I think I've found a solution to your cash flow problems. Dad's face fell. What cash flow problems? The ones I discovered while reviewing your books. Darren's smile never wavered. You gave me access last month, remember? For that loan application. The rolling pin I was holding clattered to the floor. What loan application? Honey, this is business talk, Darren said, not even looking at me. Your father and I have been discussing options. Like hell you have. I stepped between them, but Dad grabbed my arm. Tatum, wait. Maybe we should hear him out. The next 10 minutes were a blur of legal jargon and thinly veiled threats. Darren had somehow convinced my father that we were on the brink of bankruptcy, which was news to me, considering I handled most of our accounting. He presented a rescue package that would save the bakery, requiring only that we sign over controlling interest to his company, Artemis Eateries. This is insane, I said, scanning the documents. Dad, we're not in financial trouble. He's lying. Actually, Darren pulled out another paper. You are. The health department found several violations last week. Major ones. They're threatening to shut you down. My blood ran cold. We passed inspection 3 weeks ago. Funny how things change. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the real Darren, calculating, cold, victorious. You did this, I whispered. You set us up. I'm trying to help, he said loudly, for Dad's benefit. Without this deal, you'll lose everything. With it, you keep working here. Same as always, just under better management. Dad's hand shook as he reached for the pen. We don't have a choice, do we? Dad, no, I grabbed his arm. He's stealing our bakery. I'm saving it, Darren corrected. Sign here, please. I watched in horror as my father signed away our legacy. The bakery my grandparents had opened in 1962, where I'd learned to bake my first cookie, where Mum had worked until the day she died, gone with a few strokes of a pen. Darren gathered the papers, tucking them into his briefcase. I'll have my team here this afternoon to begin the transition. Don't worry, you'll both still have jobs. For now. The bell chimed again as he left, leaving behind the scent of his expensive cologne and the ruins of my life. Dad slumped against the counter, looking older than I'd ever seen him. What have I done? He whispered. I couldn't answer. I was already pulling out my phone, calling Avery, my best friend, and the only lawyer I knew. He can't do this, I said when she picked up. There has to be a way to fight it. I'll be there in 20 minutes, she promised. Don't sign anything else. But it was too late. By the time Avery arrived, Darren's legal team had already taken control. Within a week, Dad was retired, with a pittance of a severance package, and I was informed my services were no longer required. The final twist of the knife came that night when I returned home to find Darren packing his bags. You understand, right? He didn't even look guilty. It's just business, nothing personal. I stood in our bedroom doorway watching him fold his designer shirts. How long have you been planning this? Does it matter? He zipped his suitcase. You were never going to be enough, Tatum. The bakery was just the beginning. I'm building an empire. He brushed past me, then paused. Oh, and I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce. Try not to make it messy. The front door clicked shut, and I sank to the floor, my world imploding around me. But somewhere in the midst of my tears, something else began to burn. Determination. Darren thought he'd broken me, but he'd just lit a fire. I pulled out my phone again, this time calling Valeria, the restaurateur who'd been trying to hire me for months. Still interested in teaching me the business? I asked when she answered. Always, she said. Why? I smiled through my tears. Because I'm going to need to know everything about running restaurants. Every single thing. You're holding the knife wrong, Valeria said, adjusting my grip for the 100th time. A chef's knife is an extension of your arm, not a weapon. 6 months had passed since I'd lost the bakery, and here I was, starting from scratch in Valeria's upscale Manhattan restaurant. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd gone from master baker to kitchen novice overnight. Sorry, I muttered, repositioning my fingers. Old habits. Speaking of old habits, Valeria leaned against the prep station. Your ex-husband's new acquisition is making waves. Did you see the article in the Times? My knife slipped, nearly taking off a fingertip. No, I've been avoiding the news. Smart girl, but you should know he's expanding, buying up small restaurants, turning them into chain concepts. People are calling him the fast casual king of New York. I focused on dicing onions, letting their sting excuse the tears in my eyes. Good for him? No, Valeria grabbed my wrist, forcing me to look at her. Not good for him. Good for you. Every empire has weak spots, Tatum. You just need to learn where to look. A commotion from the dining room interrupted us. Chef! One of the servers burst into the kitchen. Levi Hoffman is here again. Valeria cursed under her breath. Third time this week. He's trying to poach my staff. Levi Hoffman, I asked. Rising star in the restaurant world. Aggressive expansion, but quality-focused. Unlike your ex. She straightened her chef's coat. Stay here. Learn something. But I followed her anyway, curious about this rival restaurateur. Through the kitchen door, I watched Valeria approach a tall man in an impeccable suit who was chatting with one of her line cooks. Levi, Valeria's voice could have frozen hell. This is getting old. He turned, flashing a disarming smile. Valeria, just having a friendly chat with your talented staff. My staff isn't interested in your offers. Actually, the line cook interrupted, I was considering... Marcus, Valeria's tone left no room for argument. Back to work. As Marcus skulked away, Levi's eyes landed on me. New face? Off limits, Valeria snapped. I don't know, I stepped forward, ignoring Valeria's warning look. I might be interested in hearing an offer. Levi's eyebrows shot up. Really? And you are? Tatum, former owner of Bradley's Bakery. Recognition flickered across his face. Ah, Darren's ex. Heard about that mess. He studied me more carefully. Interesting career change. Necessary one, I corrected. Your turn. Why are you really here? He glanced at Valeria, then back to me. Coffee, there's a place around the corner. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Levi in a quiet cafe, watching him doctor his espresso with precise amounts of sugar and cream. So, he said, you're learning the restaurant business to get back at Darren. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He leaned back. Look, I respect revenge as much as the next person, but you're going about it wrong. I'm not. Save it. He pulled out his phone, showing me a spreadsheet. Darren's expanding too fast, taking on too much debt. His concepts are flashy, but shallow. In 18 months, maybe 24, it'll all start falling apart. I stared at the numbers. How do you know this? Because I've been watching him, waiting. Levi's smile turned predatory. And now I'm wondering if you'd like to help speed up the process. Why would you want my help? Because you know his weaknesses, and because watching him lose everything to his ex-wife would be... He sipped his coffee. Poetic. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Avery. Turn on the news now. Levi noticed my expression change. Problem? I pulled up a news site, and there it was. Artemis Eateries announces IPO plans. Darren Holmes set to take company public. Well, Levi said, reading over my shoulder, that changes things. How so? Because now there's a clock ticking. Once he goes public, taking him down becomes much harder. He pulled out a business card. I'm offering you a job, Tatum. Real responsibility, real learning opportunity. But you need to decide fast. I thought about Valeria, who'd given me a chance when I needed it most. I can't just... Yes, you can. He stood up. Call me by tomorrow if you want in. Oh, and Tatum... He paused at the door. The knife skills will come. Focus on learning the business side. That's where wars are really won. I sat there long after he left, turning his card over in my hands. Finally, I called Valeria. He offered you a job, didn't he? She said before I could speak. Yes. She sighed. Take it. Levi's an ass, but he's brilliant at business, and that's what you need right now. You're not mad? Mad? Honey, I'm proud. You're finally thinking like a shark instead of a minnow. She paused. Just promise me one thing? What's that? When you take Darren down, make it spectacular. Some of us will want front row seats. I smiled, already dialing Levi's number. That's a promise I intend to keep. You're not going to believe this. Avery burst into my office at Levi's restaurant group, waving her tablet. Artemis Eateries is in trouble. I looked up from the financial reports I'd been studying for the past year. What kind of trouble? The delicious kind. She perched on my desk, pulling up an article. Their IPO filing revealed some interesting numbers. Their growth isn't what Darren's been claiming. 3 of their newest locations are hemorrhaging money. Show me. I grabbed the tablet, scanning the figures. After 18 months working under Levi, I could read between the lines of financial statements. What I saw made me smile. Their debt-to-equity ratio is insane, I muttered. He's been borrowing against future earnings that don't exist. Exactly. Avery grinned. The stock price is tanking before they even go public. Investors are pulling out. My phone buzzed, Levi calling. Did you see? I asked when I picked up. Get to my office, now. 10 minutes later, I sat across from Levi, watching him pace. This is our moment, he said. Darren's vulnerable. His investors are spooked. He needs a white knight. And you want to be that knight? He stopped pacing. No, I want you to be. I blinked. What? Think about it. You've learned every aspect of this business. You've turned around 3 failing restaurants in the past year. Your name carries weight now. But I don't have that kind of capital. No, he sat down, sliding a folder across his desk. But I do, and I'm willing to back you. I opened the folder to find acquisition papers. You want me to buy Artemis Eateries? I want us to buy it together. You'll be the face of the deal. I'll be the silent partner. You get controlling interest. I get a healthy return on investment. He leaned forward. Plus, I get to watch Darren Holmes sell his company to his ex-wife. That's worth the price of admission alone. My hands shook as I read the terms. This is real? Very, but we need to move fast. Word is Darren's meeting with other potential buyers next week. I pulled out my phone, dialing Avery. How quickly can you review an acquisition proposal? Give me an hour, she said after I explained the situation. And Tatum, this is it. This is your chance. The next few days passed in a blur of meetings, paperwork, and sleepless nights. Levi's team worked around the clock, preparing our offer. Finally, we were ready. Remember, Levi said as we walked into the Artemis Eateries headquarters, let me do the talking. You're just here as my restaurant operations expert. The conference room was packed with executives, lawyers, and one very nervous-looking Darren. He did a double take when he saw me. What is she doing here? He demanded. Ms. Bradley is my chief operations officer, Levi said smoothly. Her experience in restaurant turnarounds is crucial to our proposal. I sat silently, watching Darren squirm as Levi presented our offer. It was generous enough to be tempting, but structured to give us complete control. This is ridiculous, Darren interrupted halfway through. We have other interested parties. Who? Levi asked. The Singapore group that pulled out yesterday? Or the private equity firm that's lowballing you? He smiled. Face it, Darren, we're your best option. One of the board members cleared his throat. Mr. Holmes, he's right. We need to consider this offer seriously. The meeting dragged on for hours. I watched Darren's facade crack bit by bit as his board members and lawyers increasingly sided with our proposal. Finally, they called for a brief recess. Darren cornered me in the hallway. What are you playing at? Playing? I'm not playing anything. I'm doing business. I met his gaze steadily. Isn't that what you taught me? It's nothing personal. His face reddened. You think you can run my company? Better than you have. I stepped closer. Your books are a mess, Darren. Your concepts are stale. You've been so focused on expansion that you forgot about quality, just like you did with the bakery. The bakery was failing. The bakery was fine until you fabricated health violations and manipulated my father. I kept my voice low, controlled. You wanted an empire. Congratulations. You built one on sand and now it's crumbling. The board members filed back in before he could respond. I took my seat, watching as they announced their decision to accept our offer, pending final negotiations. Levi shook hands with everyone while I gathered my papers. As we left, I paused at the door. "Oh, Darren," I turned back. "Don't worry, I'll have my lawyer contact you about the transition. Try not to make it messy." Outside, Levi burst out laughing. "That was beautiful. Did you see his face?" But I wasn't celebrating yet. "We still have to turn these restaurants around." "We will." He hailed a cab. "But first, we're going to celebrate. Dinner at Valeria's?" I nodded, finally allowing myself to smile. "Perfect. I hear she makes an excellent revenge dish, served cold." "All rise." The boardroom fell silent as I walked in, heels clicking against the polished floor. 30 pairs of eyes followed me to the head of the table. Executives, managers, and district supervisors of Artemis Eateries, all waiting to meet their new CEO. "Good morning," I said, remaining standing. "I'm Tatum Bradley. As of 9 a.m. today, I'm your new chief executive." A murmur rippled through the room. I spotted Darren at the far end, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He was required to stay on as a consultant during the transition, a detail I'd specifically requested in the contract. "Let's address the elephant in the room," I continued. "Yes, I'm Darren's ex-wife. No, this isn't about revenge." I paused. "This is about survival. Your jobs, this company's future, depend on what happens in the next 6 months." I clicked through my presentation, displaying graphs of plummeting profits and rising costs. "These numbers tell a story. It's not a happy one." "With all due respect," a middle-aged manager interrupted, "we've been hitting our growth targets." "Through unsustainable expansion and cost-cutting," I finished for him. "When was the last time you ate at one of our restaurants, Mark?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Last month." "Try again. Our records show you haven't used your employee meal benefit in over 6 months. Neither have most of you." I looked around the room. "You don't eat at your own restaurants. That's problem number 1. Darren stood up. "This is absurd. Our concepts are..." "Failing," I cut him off. "Sit down, Darren. You're here to observe, not speak." The room tensed as we stared each other down. Finally, he sat, his face flushed with anger. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "Every executive in this room will spend the next week working in our restaurants. Front of house, back of house, every position. You'll eat every item on the menu. You'll talk to customers. Then we'll meet again." "That's not in our contracts," someone protested. "Your contracts are being revised. Those who don't wish to participate can submit their resignations by end of day." The room erupted in whispers. I waited them out. "One more thing," I added. "We're reopening Bradley's Bakery." Now Darren did jump up. "You can't do that. The lease..." "The lease transferred with the acquisition." I smiled. "You really should read contracts more carefully, Darren." Meeting adjourned. I gathered my papers as the room cleared out, executives muttering among themselves. Darren lingered, waiting until we were alone. "You're going to destroy everything I built," he said. "No, I'm going to fix what you broke." I met his eyes. "Starting with the bakery. This is about your father, isn't it? This is about doing business right." I walked to the door, then turned back. "By the way, you start at the downtown Brooklyn location tomorrow, 6 a.m. sharp. The manager there runs a tight ship. I'm not working in a restaurant kitchen. Then clear out your office by 5. I checked my watch. "I have another meeting. Don't be late tomorrow." In the elevator, my hands finally started shaking. Avery was waiting in my new office. "How'd it go?" she asked. "About as expected." I collapsed into my chair. "Half of them will probably quit." "Good. Fresh blood is exactly what you need." She handed me a coffee. "Your father called, by the way. He saw the news about the bakery." My stomach tightened. "What did he say?" "He wants to meet. Says he has some ideas about the reopening." Tears pricked at my eyes. Dad hadn't baked since the day we lost the bakery. "Tell him yes, whenever he wants." My phone buzzed. Levi texting, watching the stock price climb. "Well done, partner." Another buzz. Valeria. "Dinner tonight. We need to celebrate properly." A knock at the door interrupted my replies. Jennifer, Darren's sister, stood there looking uncertain. "Can we talk?" she asked. I gestured to a chair. Of course. Avery excused herself as Jennifer sat down. "I know Darren hurt you," she said, "but these people, their jobs, are safer with me than they were with him," I finished. "I'm not here to destroy the company, Jennifer. I'm here to save it. By forcing executives to work in kitchens. By reminding everyone what this business is really about. Food, service, people." I leaned forward. "Stay. Help me fix this. You've always seen the problems your brother couldn't." She studied me for a long moment. "The bakery. Will you really reopen it? Come see for yourself." I stood up. "I'm heading there now to check on renovations." Jennifer hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, show me." As we rode to Brooklyn, I thought about all the pieces falling into place. The bakery would rise again, but this time as the heart of something bigger, something better. Darren had taught me about empire building, but he'd forgotten the most important lesson. Empires built on greed collapse. Empires built on quality endure. Tomorrow, Darren would learn that lesson the hard way, starting with a 6 a.m. shift in his own failing restaurant. "Is this live?" I asked, staring at my phone screen where a viral video was playing. It showed Darren, still in his expensive suit, having a meltdown in one of our restaurant kitchens. "Oh, it's live," Avery confirmed, barely containing her glee. "And trending. Our restaurant Karen is currently number 3 on Twitter." In the video, Darren was red-faced, jabbing his finger at a teenage line cook. "Do you know who I am? I built this company." "Sir," the cook replied calmly, "the dishes still need to be washed. Company policy says everyone helps during rush hour." "I'm not touching those dishes. Get a dishwasher." "We're short-staffed because corporate cut our labor budget last month. Your policy, sir." I watched as Darren stormed out, knocking over a stack of clean plates in the process. The video ended with the line cook looking directly at the camera and deadpanning. "Thanks, corporate." 3 million views and counting, Avery said. "The comments are brutal." My phone rang. "Jennifer. Have you seen—" "I'm watching it now," I said. "He's completely lost it. He's at my apartment ranting about how you set him up. I didn't set up anything. He did this to himself." I paused. "Is he drinking?" "Yeah. And he's talking about going to the press, exposing some truth about you." I smiled. "Perfect. Let him." "Perfect. Tatum, what are you planning?" "Just make sure he stays angry, and keep recording if he says anything interesting." After hanging up, I turned to Avery. "Time for phase 2? She nodded, pulling out a folder. The audit results came back. "You're going to love this." 2 hours later, I sat in my office with a reporter from the Wall Street Journal. "These documents show systematic mismanagement under the previous leadership," I explained, sliding over the audit reports. "Cost-cutting that compromised food safety, labor law violations, even evidence of supplier kickbacks." The reporter's eyes widened as she read. "This is comprehensive. We're implementing immediate changes," I continued, "starting with restoring proper staffing levels and quality standards. The previous management's focus on rapid expansion led to these issues." "Speaking of previous management," she looked up, "your ex-husband's video is causing quite a stir." "Yes, it's unfortunate, but it illustrates exactly why we're making these changes. Every executive is required to work in our restaurants now. Some are adapting better than others. And the bakery reopening, that's your family's original business, correct?" "It is. We're returning to our roots: quality food, fair treatment of workers, sustainable growth." I smiled. "Would you like to see it? The renovation is almost complete." The bakery was buzzing with activity when we arrived. Dad was there, supervising the installation of new ovens. "This is where it all started," he told the reporter, pride evident in his voice. "And where it's starting again, thanks to my daughter." The reporter scribbled notes as Dad showed her around, explaining our vision for combining traditional baking with modern restaurant concepts. I stepped outside to take a call from Levi. "Your ex is on CNBC right now," he said, making a complete fool of himself. I pulled up the live stream. Darren was sweating under the studio lights, his tie askew. "She's destroying everything," he was saying. "She's turned my own sister against me. She's spreading lies." "Mr. Holmes," the anchor interrupted, "your former company's stock has risen 15% since Ms. Bradley took over. The market seems to approve of her changes." "The market doesn't understand. She's—" He stopped, seeming to realize how he sounded. "This is a personal vendetta. Is that why you're here instead of working your scheduled shift at your former restaurant?" The anchor's tone was devastating. "We have reports you walked out mid-service, leaving your staff short-handed." I ended the stream, turning back to the bakery. Through the window, I could see Dad teaching the reporter how to properly shape a croissant, his hands moving with the confidence I remembered from childhood. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. "He's completely melting down, talking about leaving the country." "Don't let him," I replied. "The board still has questions about those supplier contracts he signed." Another buzz. Valeria this time. "Just saw CNBC. Karma's a beautiful thing, isn't it?" I watched Dad laugh at something the reporter said and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with revenge. This was about more than getting even. This was about rebuilding something real, something lasting. The reporter emerged, tucking away her notebook. "One last question," she said. "What would you say to those who claim this is just about revenge?" I looked through the window again, at Dad showing a young baker how to use our old family recipes. "Revenge is about destroying things," I said. "This is about creating something better from the ashes. That's not revenge. That's redemption." She nodded, understanding. "The story runs tomorrow." "Perfect timing," I smiled. "Just in time for the bakery's grand reopening." And Darren's final fall from grace. The Wall Street Journal article hit like a bomb. I sat in the newly renovated Bradley's bakery, watching the fallout unfold on my laptop, while the smell of fresh bread filled the air. "Board members demand investigation into former CEO's practices," one headline screamed. "Restaurant empire's dark underbelly exposed," declared another. My phone hadn't stopped ringing since dawn. I ignored most calls, but answered when Jennifer's name flashed on the screen. "He's gone," she said without preamble. "Cleared out his apartment overnight, left his phone behind." I closed my eyes. "Any idea where?" "Probably Dad's place in the Hamptons. He always runs there when things get bad." She paused. "Tatum, I know he deserved this, but he's your brother," I finished. "I get it." "Do you? Because this morning's article, it's not just Darren who looks bad. Dad's reputation is ruined too." The bell above the bakery door chimed. I looked up to see Clifford, Darren's father, walking in. He looked older than his 60 years, defeated. "Jennifer, I'll call you back." Clifford stood before the counter, taking in the renovated space. "Looks different," he said finally. "Better different or worse different?" "Just different." He met my eyes. "Like everything else these days." I gestured to a table. "Coffee?" He nodded, sinking into a chair while I brought over 2 cups and a plate of fresh croissants. We sat in silence for a moment, the morning sunlight streaming through the windows. "You've destroyed my family's name," he said finally. "Your son destroyed it himself. I just exposed the truth." "The truth?" He laughed bitterly. "The truth is, I pushed him too hard, expected too much, made him think success was everything. I hadn't expected this. Anger, yes. Threats, probably, but not regret. You raised him to be ruthless," I said. "He learned that lesson well." "I raised him to be successful." Clifford stared into his coffee. "I never taught him to be cruel." "That part." He shook his head. "That's on him." The bakery was filling up with morning customers. I watched them line up, chatting and laughing, completely unaware of the drama unfolding at our table. "What do you want, Clifford?" "Want?" He looked around the bakery again. I want to understand something. You've won. You've taken everything from him. Why reopen this place? Because this place matters. I broke a croissant in half, the buttery layers perfectly flaky. Every recipe here has a story. Every customer is part of our community. Darren never understood that. He saw numbers, not people. And you see both, Clifford said slowly. That's why you're succeeding where he failed. My phone buzzed. Levi texting. Board meeting in an hour. They want to discuss pressing charges. Are you going to have him arrested? Clifford asked, reading my expression. That depends on him. I met his gaze. The supplier kickbacks, the health code violations, those are serious charges. But if he cooperates with the investigation, tells the truth, you'd show mercy after everything? Not mercy, justice. I stood up. Find him, Clifford. Tell him he has 24 hours to come forward voluntarily. After that, it's out of my hands. Clifford rose slowly. You're a better person than we deserved, Tatum. This isn't about being better, it's about being right. After he left, I called Jennifer back. Dad was just here, I said. I know, he texted me. She sounded tired. You're really giving Darren a chance to come clean? Yes, but Jennifer... I paused. Make sure he understands this is his last chance. I will. She hesitated. Thank you. I ended the call and walked behind the counter. Dad was there, teaching a new baker our signature sourdough technique. Everything okay? He asked, noting my expression. I don't know. I picked up an apron. Did I go too far? He considered this while shaping a loaf. Remember what Mom used to say about bread? The right amount of heat makes it rise. Too much burns it to ash. Exactly. He smiled. You applied just enough heat, honey. Now let's see if he rises or burns. The morning rush picked up, and I lost myself in the rhythm of the bakery, taking orders, greeting regulars, making change. This was real. This mattered. My phone buzzed again, Avery this time. Police just called. Darren's at the station, ready to talk. I looked around the bakery, at the life and warmth filling the space that Darren had once tried to destroy. He'd thought taking it would break me. Instead, it had made me stronger, taught me the difference between revenge and justice. Tell them I'll be there in an hour, I texted back. Some things are more important than watching someone fall. I turned back to the customers, to the smell of fresh bread and coffee, to the sound of laughter and conversation. This was my empire now, built not on greed and betrayal, but on quality and community, and unlike Darren's, it would last. He's ready to see you, the detective said, leading me down a sterile hallway to an interview room. Through the window, I could see Darren sitting alone at a table, his designer suit wrinkled, his face unshaven. Remember, Avery whispered beside me, let him talk. The more he says, the better our position. I nodded, took a deep breath and walked in. Darren didn't look up. You look terrible, I said, sitting across from him. Spending the night in a holding cell will do that. His voice was hoarse. Happy now? No. I placed a file on the table. But we can end this today if you're ready to be honest. He finally met my eyes. Honest about what? How you orchestrated my downfall? How about we start with the health inspector you bribed to shut down the bakery? His jaw tightened. You can't prove that. Actually, I pulled out a document. He's already given a statement, along with 3 of your former suppliers who admitted to the kickback scheme. They're lying. Are the bank records lying too? I slid over another paper. Or the emails, or the surveillance footage. Color drained from his face as he scanned the evidence. How did you find it all? I learned from the best, remember? You taught me to be thorough. I leaned forward. But unlike you, I'm offering a way out. What way out? You've already won. Taken everything. Sign a full confession, pay back the money you stole, testify against the others involved. I tapped the file. Do that, and I'll recommend no jail time. He laughed bitterly. Why would you do that? Because Jennifer asked me to. I watched his expression change at his sister's name. She still believes there's something worth saving in you. The door opened and Jennifer walked in. Darren straightened immediately, trying to smooth his rumpled appearance. "Jen, you shouldn't be here. Someone has to talk sense into you." She sat beside me. "The evidence is overwhelming, Darren. Take the deal." "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." Jennifer's voice cracked. "For once in your life, do the right thing." Silence filled the room. I could almost see the wheels turning in Darren's head, calculating angles, looking for escape routes. "Dad's reputation," he said finally. "This will destroy him." "Dad destroyed himself," Jennifer replied. "Just like you did, but he's ready to face it. Are you?" Darren slumped in his chair, the fight draining out of him. "I never meant for it to go this far." "Tell me something," I said. "The bakery, why? You already had success. Why did you need to take it?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because you loved it more than me." The simple honesty of his answer hit me like a physical blow. "You were building this empire," he continued, "and the bakery was just this small, comfortable thing. I thought if I took it, made it part of something bigger." He shook his head. "I wanted you to see what I could create. Instead, you destroyed everything we had." "I know." He reached for the confession papers. "What happens after I sign?" "You step down from all remaining positions, pay restitution, give a full statement to the authorities." I slid him a pen. "And then you get help, Darren. Real help. And the company? We'll continue without you. We're already turning things around." He picked up the pen, then paused. "The old recipes, Mom's cinnamon rolls, the sourdough method. You're still using those?" "Of course. Some things shouldn't change." He signed the papers, his hand shaking slightly. Jennifer reached across and squeezed his arm. "I'll have someone drive you home," I said, gathering the documents. "Get some rest. Your lawyer will contact you about next steps." At the door, he called out, "Tatum." I turned back. "The bakery. You've made it better than it ever was. Even before." "I know." I met his eyes one last time. "Goodbye, Darren." Outside, Avery was waiting with the detective. He signed. I handed over the confession. "Everything you need is there." My phone buzzed, Dad texting, "Afternoon rush starting. Could use your help if you're done saving the world." "Go," Avery said, reading over my shoulder. "I'll handle the rest here." The drive back to Brooklyn felt longer than usual. By the time I walked into the bakery, the line was out the door. Dad was at the counter, flour on his apron, smile on his face. "Perfect timing," he said, tossing me an apron. "These good people need their bread." I tied on the apron, breathing in the familiar scents of yeast and butter. Through the window, I could see the afternoon sun painting the street gold. Customers chatted while they waited, the buzz of community filling the space. This was what winning really felt like, not destroying an enemy, but building something worth fighting for. "Coming right up," I called to the waiting customers, rolling up my sleeves. There was work to be done, and I was ready to do it. "Ready?" Dad asked, adjusting his tie in the bakery's front window. "Almost." I placed the last fresh-baked loaf in the display case. The morning sun caught the golden crust, making it glow. Perfect. Outside, a small crowd had gathered. Customers, reporters, and food critics, all waiting for our grand reopening ceremony. But this wasn't just about the bakery anymore. "They're here," Avery called from the door. Levi and Valeria walked in, followed by Jennifer. "No Darren?" I asked her quietly. She shook her head. "He's still at the treatment center, but he sent this." She handed me a card. Inside, his familiar handwriting, "Build it better than I ever could." "Time to start," Levi said, checking his watch. "You ready to announce the foundation?" I nodded, straightening my jacket. We'd planned this carefully. The bakery's reopening would also launch the Fresh Start Foundation, providing training and support for small food businesses. Funded by the restitution money from Darren's case, it felt like the perfect way to close this chapter. Dad opened the doors, and the crowd flowed in. Cameras flashed as I stepped behind the counter. Not a podium, but the place where I felt most at home. "Welcome to Bradley's Bakery," I began. "Some of you might remember this place. Some of you might have read about its story. But today isn't about the past." I gestured to the walls, where photos hung showing the bakery's history, from my grandparents' opening day to my parents' wedding, to me as a child covered in flour. This place taught me something important. Success isn't just about profit margins or market share. It's about community, about creating something that matters. Valeria stepped forward, carrying a tray of fresh pastries. Which is why today, we're not just reopening a bakery, we're launching something new. I explained the foundation's mission, while Dad and Jennifer distributed bread samples. The reporters scribbled notes as I detailed our plans to help other small businesses avoid the pitfalls we'd faced. "The first grant," I announced, "will go to rebuilding Mario's Pizzeria in Queens, which nearly closed last month due to corporate pressure." Mario himself stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "This will save my family's business," he said. "Thank you." As the crowd mingled and celebrated, Levi pulled me aside. "The board approved the restructuring plan. Artemis Eateries will be officially renamed next week." "Good." I watched Dad teaching Mario's teenage son how to properly shape a pizza crust. Some traditions deserve to survive. Speaking of survival, Avery joined us. The prosecutor called. "Darren's making good progress. His therapist thinks he'll be ready for outpatient treatment soon." "And the company?" Levi asked. "Growing steadily," I said, "but sustainably this time. Quality over quantity." The bell above the door chimed and Clifford walked in. He looked uncertain until Jennifer waved him over. "I wasn't sure I should come," he said. "Of course you should." I handed him a warm cinnamon roll. "Mom's recipe. Your favorite, if I remember right." He took a bite, closing his eyes, just like she used to make. "Some things don't need improving," Dad said, joining us. "Just protecting." The morning passed in a blur of interviews, handshakes, and countless cups of coffee. Finally, as the crowd thinned, I found myself alone behind the counter, watching the last customers leave. "Quite a change from that Tuesday morning when everything fell apart," Avery said, perching on a stool. "Everything didn't fall apart," I corrected. "It just got rebuilt stronger." My phone buzzed. A text from Darren's treatment center. "Your brother-in-law asked us to share his progress report. 90 days sober, making amends." "Good news?" Avery asked, noting my smile. "Getting there." I put the phone away. "Hey, want to learn how to make sourdough? Dad's teaching a class tonight." "Me? Baking?" She laughed. "I burn microwave popcorn." "Everyone starts somewhere." I tossed her an apron. "That's kind of the point of all this." The afternoon light slanted through the windows, catching the Fresh Start Foundation banner hanging above the door. Outside, life flowed past, people hurrying to meetings, couples walking hand in hand, kids racing home from school. Inside, the smell of fresh bread filled the air, warm and promising. Dad was showing Jennifer how to score the perfect crosshatch pattern on a loaf. Valeria and Levi argued playfully about the best way to knead dough. Even Clifford had rolled up his sleeves, flour dusting his expensive shirt. This was what winning really looked like. Not destroying an enemy or building an empire, but creating a space where broken things could be made whole again, where every day brought a fresh start, a new chance to rise. I picked up a bag of flour, ready to begin the evening's lessons. "Okay, everyone. First rule of sourdough, patience. Good things take time." And time, I'd learned, had a way of making things right.
The worst part about being forgotten is pretending it doesn't hurt. I stared at my phone, reading the text from my mother for the 10th time. "Kylie, darling. There seems to have been a mix-up with Stuart's wedding invitations. I'm sure yours just got lost in the mail. Lost in the mail. Right. My name is Kylie, and I've spent 29 years being the family's afterthought, the forgotten daughter, the invisible sister, the one who's never quite good enough. You'd think I'd be used to it by now." My phone buzzed again. Andrea's name flashed across the screen. "Have you heard from them yet?" she asked when I picked up. "Oh yeah," I laughed, but it came out hollow. Apparently, my invitation got lost in the mail. 6 weeks before the wedding. "Are you kidding me? That's the excuse they're going with?" I got up from my couch and started pacing. Mum just called too. Want to hear the best part? Hit me. She said, and I quote, "Lucille's been so stressed about the seating arrangements. Maybe this is for the best, sweetie. You know how particular she is about everything being perfect." "Perfect?" Andrea's voice rose. "Perfect for who? That stuck-up princess and your golden boy brother?" The doorbell rang, making me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Stuart standing there in his perfectly pressed suit, looking impatient. "Hold on," I whispered to Andrea. "Speaking of the devil." I opened the door, phone still pressed to my ear. Stuart breezed past me without waiting for an invitation, his cologne leaving a wake of expensive sophistication. "I'll call you back," I told Andrea, ending the call. "Mother said you're upset," Stuart announced, inspecting my apartment with his usual air of mild disapproval. "Upset? Why would I be upset that my only brother didn't invite me to his wedding?" He sighed, straightening his already straight tie. "Don't be dramatic, Kylie. Of course you were invited. The invitation must have gotten lost. In the mail. Yeah, I heard." I crossed my arms. "Funny how that keeps happening. Like my college graduation party invitations, or my housewarming. That was different." "How? How was it different, Stuart?" He checked his watch, already done with the conversation. "Look, Lucille has a very specific vision for the wedding. It's going to be the social event of the season. We can't risk any complications." "Complications?" My voice cracked. "Is that what I am to you?" "You know what I mean. Remember Thomas and Sarah's wedding? When you showed up with that woman?" "My girlfriend. Her name was Rachel." "Whatever." He waved his hand dismissively. "The point is, you caused quite a stir." Mother was mortified. I felt my cheeks burn. "That was 5 years ago. And I caused a stir by bringing my date to a wedding. Lucille's family is very traditional. We need to maintain certain appearances." The words hit like slaps. Each one carefully chosen to remind me that I didn't fit their perfect picture. "Get out," I whispered. "Don't be childish. Get out." He straightened his jacket, looking down at me with that familiar mixture of pity and disappointment. "Mother wanted me to smooth things over. I tried. But you're being impossible as usual." As he reached the door, he paused. "Oh, and Kylie, please don't make a scene about this. It's Lucille's special day." The door clicked shut behind him, and I stood there, trembling with anger and hurt. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my mother. "Stuart said you're being difficult. Please don't ruin this for your brother. You know how important this is for the family." Important for the family? The family that consistently pushed me to the margins, that treated my life, my choices, my very existence as an inconvenience to their carefully curated image. I called Andrea back. "You won't believe what just happened," I said when she answered. "What did that pompous ass want?" "To remind me that I'm a complication." I took a deep breath. "Andrea, remember when you said I should stop letting them walk all over me?" "Yeah?" "I think it's time." My voice steadied as determination replaced hurt. "I'm done being the family disappointment. If they want to exclude me, fine. But they're about to learn that I can do more than just cause a stir." "What are you thinking?" I smiled, an idea taking shape. "How much do you know about wedding planning?" "Not much," she said slowly. "But I'm guessing we're about to learn." "Oh yes," I replied, already pulling up my laptop. "We're about to learn everything there is to know about Stuart and Lucille's perfect day." "You're going to need this," Andrea said, sliding a glass of wine across my kitchen counter. "I just got off the phone with my cousin who works at the Grand Plaza Hotel." I took a long sip. "And?" "Lucille specifically asked about you when booking the venue. She wanted to make sure you weren't on any pre-approved guest lists from previous family events." The wine turned bitter in my mouth. "So it wasn't lost in the mail at all?" "Not even close." Andrea pulled out her phone. "The wedding's costing close to $200,000. Your dear brother and his bride have booked every premium service the hotel offers." I let out a low whistle. "Dad must be thrilled about that." "Here's the interesting part." Andrea leaned forward, her eyes sparkling. All the vendors are being coordinated through one person, Jessica, at Elite Events. And guess who used to be my roommate in college? A slow smile spread across my face. Jessica from the sorority. The very same. She owes me a few favours. Andrea's fingers flew across her phone screen. Want to grab coffee with her tomorrow? You're evil. I love it. The next morning, we met Jessica at a quiet cafe downtown. She looked exactly as I remembered. Perfectly polished, tablet in hand, radiating efficiency. I shouldn't be showing you this, Jessica said, sliding her tablet across the table. But after what Andrea told me, well, look at the email Lucille sent me last month. I read the message, my hands shaking slightly. Jessica, I need to ensure certain people don't interfere with our special day. Stuart's sister has a history of inappropriate behaviour. Please make sure she's not included in any arrangements. The family will handle any awkward questions. Inappropriate behaviour? Andrea scoffed. You volunteer at animal shelters and teach art to kids on weekends. But I also date women and don't fit their country club image, I replied, still staring at the email. Jessica, how much flexibility do you have with the vendors? She raised an eyebrow. What did you have in mind? Those vendors are expecting a big payday, right? What if they got an even better offer? Kylie? Jessica glanced around nervously. What are you suggesting? I pulled out my own tablet. I've been saving for years, originally for a down payment on a house, but... I turned the screen toward them, showing my bank balance. Andrea's eyes widened. Holy shit! That's substantial, Jessica said carefully. But redirecting vendors could cost me my job. What if it wasn't you? I asked. What if someone else made them a better offer? Someone who happened to know exactly what services were being provided and when. Jessica sat back, a slow smile spreading across her face. You know, I've been thinking about starting my own event planning business. This industry can be so cutthroat. Would be a shame if someone outbid your current employer, Andrea added innocently. A real shame, Jessica agreed. She pulled her tablet back, fingers flying across the screen. Hypothetically, if someone wanted to contact these vendors directly, here's their information. And hypothetically, if someone offered them a 20% premium over their current contracts. My phone buzzed. Mum again. Kylie, Lucille's mother called. She's concerned you might try to cause problems. Please don't embarrass us. I showed the message to Andrea and Jessica. Oh, it's personal now, Andrea declared. Very personal, I agreed, then turned to Jessica. One more thing. Do you know any charities that could use a significant donation and some publicity? Jessica's eyes lit up. Actually, I'm on the board of a children's hospital foundation. They're trying to fund a new cancer treatment wing. Perfect. I finished my coffee. Send me everything. And Jessica? Thank you. Don't thank me, she replied, gathering her things. I was never here. But, she paused, I've seen how Lucille treats her vendors. Let's just say karma's been a long time coming. After Jessica left, Andrea grabbed my arm. Are you sure about this? It's a lot of money. You know what's funny? I said, watching people pass by outside the cafe window. I've spent my whole life trying to earn their approval, saving money to prove I could be as successful as Stuart. But now? I pulled up the children's hospital website on my phone. I can think of better ways to use it. My phone buzzed again. A text from Alec, a family friend. Just heard about the wedding drama. For what it's worth, I think they're being awful. Let me know if you need anything. I showed Andrea the message. Looks like not everyone's on their side. Good, she said firmly. Because after tomorrow there's no going back. I nodded, already drafting emails to the vendors. No going back, I agreed. Just forward, straight through their perfect day. The florist is in, I whispered to Andrea, as we pretended to browse dresses at Bella's bridal. Through the boutique's window, I could see Lucille arriving for her final fitting. How many is that now? Andrea adjusted a price tag, wincing at the number. 4. The florist, the caterer, the band, and the cake designer. I ducked behind a rack of veils as Lucille swept past. They all jumped at the chance to do a charity event instead, especially with the bonus I offered. Mrs. King, the boutique owner's voice carried across the store, and the beautiful bride. Come, come, we have everything ready. I peeked through the dresses, watching my mother fuss over Lucille's train. The sight made my stomach twist. "Kylie!" Andrea hissed. "We should go before—" "Wait!" I held up my hand. "Listen." Lucille's voice drifted over. "I just feel so terrible about Kylie's invitation getting lost. But maybe it's for the best. I mean, after what happened at the engagement party—" "What happened at the engagement party?" I whispered to Andrea. "Nothing! You weren't even invited to that either." My mother's response made my blood boil. "You're right, dear. Kylie can be unpredictable. Stuart was wise to handle it this way. A saleswoman approached us. 'Can I help you find anything?' 'No, we're just—' 'Kylie.'" A familiar voice cut through the store. "Is that you?" I turned to find Maria, the cake designer I'd met with yesterday, standing there with a portfolio. My heart stopped. "You know each other?" the saleswoman asked. Maria's eyes widened slightly as she caught my panic. She glanced at Lucille, then back to me. "Oh, from the charity event I'm working on. Kylie's organising a wonderful fundraiser for the Children's Hospital." "How lovely!" the saleswoman exclaimed. "When is it?" "The same day as my wedding," Lucille cut in, suddenly appearing beside us in her massive white gown. "Isn't that right, Kylie?" The boutique fell silent. I could feel every eye on me. "Is it?" I met her gaze steadily. "I wouldn't know the date of your wedding, would I? My invitation got lost in the mail." Lucille's perfect smile tightened. "Such an unfortunate mistake. But you understand why we couldn't change all our arrangements just to accommodate you?" "Of course." I smiled back just as tightly. "Just like you understand why I made other plans." "Ladies," my mother interrupted, anxiety clear in her voice. "Perhaps we should—" "Tell me about this charity event," Lucille pressed, ignoring her. "It must be quite something to book Maria. She's one of the most sought-after cake designers in the city." "It is quite something," I agreed. "Amazing how many people want to support a good cause." Maria clutched her portfolio closer. "I should really get back to the kitchen. Kylie, I'll email you those design options we discussed." After she hurried away, Lucille's smile turned predatory. "Interesting coincidence. Booking the same vendors we did." "Is it? I hadn't noticed." "Kylie," my mother warned. "No, it's fine," Lucille said smoothly. "I'm sure it's all just a misunderstanding. Just like I'm sure Kylie wouldn't do anything to overshadow our special day. Would you, dear?" The way she said dear made my skin crawl. Andrea stepped closer to me, protective. "Wouldn't dream of it," I replied. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a meeting with the Children's Hospital Board. Lots of arrangements to make, you understand." As we turned to leave, Lucille called out, "Oh, and Kylie, do give my best to Jessica at Elite Events. She's been so helpful with everything." I froze. Andrea grabbed my arm, steering me toward the door. "Don't!" she muttered. "Not here." Outside, I leaned against the building, breathing hard. "She knows." "She suspects," Andrea corrected. "But she can't prove anything. And by the time she does—" My phone pinged with a text from Jessica. "Lucille just called. She's demanding vendor confirmations. What should I do?" "Tell her everything's fine," I typed back. "Show her whatever she wants to see." Another text arrived, this one from Alec. "Heard about the charity event. Need a photographer? I'd love to help." I showed Andrea the message. "Think we can trust him?" At this point, what do we have to lose? I looked back through the boutique window. Lucille was preening in front of the mirrors while my mother hovered anxiously. The perfect bride. The perfect wedding. The perfect family image. "Nothing," I said finally. "We have nothing to lose and everything to prove." I texted Alec back. "Meet me for coffee tomorrow. I'll tell you everything." Andrea squeezed my shoulder. No turning back now. "No," I agreed, watching Lucille twirl in her wedding dress. Now we just watch it all unfold. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," I told Alec over coffee. "Maybe I'm taking it too far." He lowered his camera, having just shown me samples of his work. "What brought this on?" "Stuart called last night. He actually sounded vulnerable." I stirred my latte absently. "Said Dad's been pressuring him about the wedding costs. Called it keeping up appearances." "And that makes you feel guilty?" "It makes me wonder if I'm any better than them." Alec leaned forward. "Let me tell you what I saw at their engagement party. The one you weren't invited to." "I'm listening." "Stuart spent the whole night looking miserable. Every time Lucille's family made some snide comment about modern lifestyles, he just nodded along. When your mom started apologising for her unconventional daughter, he stood there silent. My hand tightened around my cup. He could have defended me. Exactly. But he didn't. Neither did your parents. Alec pulled out his phone. Watch this. The video showed Lucille addressing their engagement party guests. We're so blessed to have the perfect family coming together. Well, almost perfect. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But we all make choices, don't we? When was this? Right after your mum mentioned you were teaching art to underprivileged kids. Lucille turned it into a joke about alternative careers. My phone buzzed. Andrea sending updates about the vendors. But before I could check it, Stuart himself walked into the coffee shop. Hide the phone, Alec whispered, smoothly sliding his camera away. Stuart spotted us and frowned. Kylie, what are you doing here? Having coffee. It's a coffee shop. With Alec? His eyes narrowed. Our family's photographer. Former photographer, Alec corrected. I'm branching out. Stuart pulled up a chair uninvited. Look, Kylie, we need to talk about this charity event of yours. What about it? Lucille's upset. She thinks you're trying to steal attention from our wedding. Imagine that, I said flatly. Being upset about someone stealing attention. This isn't a joke. Dad's already stressed about the wedding costs, and now Mother's worried you'll embarrass us again. Again? Alec interjected. When has Kylie ever... Stay out of this, Stuart snapped. Then his voice softened. Kylie, please. Just postpone your event. Do it the following weekend. Why? I met his eyes. Because it might make people talk. Because it might make the family look bad. Because it's my wedding day. It's just another day you didn't want me to be part of. Stuart ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so familiar it hurt. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Lucille's family, their expectations. No, you don't understand, I cut in. While you've been worried about appearances, I've been living my life. Real life, Stuart. With real people who accept me as I am. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Jessica. Emergency. Lucille's asking questions about the vendor contracts. Need to talk ASAP. Stuart noticed my expression. What's wrong? Nothing, I said quickly. Just work. He stood up, straightening his suit. Whatever you're planning, think about what it'll do to the family, to Mum and Dad. After he left, Alec whistled low. Well, that was intense. Wait, I said, staring at my phone. A new message had popped up. From my father's accountant, Robert, who I'd known since childhood. He'd sent a single line. You should know. Your brother's been embezzling from your father's company. Oh my God! I showed Alec the message. That explains the stress about wedding costs, he said. What are you going to do? I thought about Stuart's plea, about family loyalty, about keeping up appearances. Then I thought about years of exclusion, of silent dinners, of lost invitations. I'm going to make a call, I said, standing up. The Children's Hospital Board should know they're about to receive an even larger donation than planned. Kylie. He stole from Dad, Alec. While they were all busy worrying about how I might embarrass them, he was stealing from our father. My phone buzzed again. Andrea. Vendors all confirmed for the switch. No going back now. Good, I typed back. Because I just found out why my brother's so desperate to keep up appearances. I looked at Alec. Still want to photograph my event? He picked up his camera, smiling. Wouldn't miss it for the world. As we left the coffee shop, I spotted Stuart through the window of his parked car, arguing with someone on the phone. His perfect image was already cracking. Soon, it would shatter completely. And for the first time since this all began, I felt absolutely certain about what I was doing. The string quartet just confirmed the switch, Andrea announced, bursting into my apartment. And you won't believe who their original booking was through. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing the hospital donation paperwork. Who? Your mother. She's been secretly coordinating half the vendors behind Lucille's back because she thinks they're not elegant enough. I laughed despite myself. Of course she has. But here's the real kicker. Andrea dropped onto my couch. Remember how I've been helping at the Children's Hospital? Yeah? I never told you why. She took a deep breath. My little sister was treated there before she died. The same wing we're helping fund? That's where she spent her last months. Andrea, I sat beside her. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted this to be about you standing up for yourself, not about my past. She wiped her eyes. But when you mentioned the hospital, it felt like, I don't know, like fate or something. A knock at the door interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw my mother. Hide everything, I whispered to Andrea, who quickly swept the paperwork into her bag. I opened the door. Mum? She brushed past me, perfectly coiffed as always. We need to talk about this ridiculous charity event. Good to see you too, Mum. Don't be smart, Kylie. Do you have any idea what you're doing to your brother? To this family? Andrea stood up. I'll give you some privacy. No, stay, my mother said sharply, since you're clearly encouraging this behaviour. Mum! What? Am I wrong? First you turned my daughter into some kind of rebel, and now... I turned myself into someone who stands up for what's right, I interrupted. And Andrea's been more family to me than any of you. My mother sank into an armchair. Why are you doing this? Is it attention you want? Money? Because if that's it... It's not about money. I thought about Robert's message about Stuart's embezzlement. Though that's an interesting topic. Something flickered across her face. What does that mean? Nothing. I smiled. Just thinking about family loyalty, about keeping secrets. She stood abruptly. Whatever you're planning, stop it. Now, before things get out of hand. Like they did at the country club last year, I asked innocently, when Stuart had to borrow money from Dad's company to cover his gambling debts. My mother went pale. How did you? I have friends too, Mum. Friends who notice things, like where money goes, or doesn't go. You're blackmailing us? No, I said firmly. I'm done playing family games. I'm doing something good, something meaningful. If that overshadows Stuart's perfect wedding, maybe ask yourself why that bothers you so much. Your father will be devastated. By my charity event? Or by learning what his perfect son's been doing? She moved to the door, then paused. You know, I always thought your differences were the biggest threat to this family. I never imagined you'd be cruel. Cruel? Andrea spoke up. Like excluding your daughter from family events? Like letting your son steal from his own father? Stay out of this! No, I said, standing between them. She stays. She's my family now. The kind that doesn't need lies or perfect appearances or stolen money to stick together. My mother's hand trembled on the doorknob. You'll regret this. After she left, Andrea hugged me tight. You okay? My phone buzzed, a text from Alec. Just got hired as your brother's wedding photographer. Lucille's regular guy dropped out. Want me to keep an eye on things? Perfect, I texted back. Another message popped up, this one from Robert. Your father's starting to ask questions about the accounts. What do you want me to do? I showed Andrea both messages. Think we should tell Dad everything? Not yet, she said thoughtfully. Let them sweat a little longer. Besides... She pulled out the hospital paperwork again. We have a charity event to finish planning. I nodded, looking at the guest list we'd compiled. Prominent community members, local media, hospital board members, people who could make a real difference. You know what the best part is? I said, adding another name to the list. They're so worried about appearances, they won't dare try to stop this. Not without exposing everything. Karma's a beautiful thing, Andrea agreed. My phone buzzed one final time. Jessica. Lucille's getting suspicious about the vendor contracts. She's called an emergency meeting for tomorrow. I thought about my mother's pale face, about Stuart's desperation, about Lucille's perfect wedding slowly unravelling. Let her meet, I typed back. It's too late to stop it now. 3 days until the wedding. 3 days until everything changed. And for once, I couldn't wait for my family to see me clearly. They're starting to arrive, Alec texted, sending a photo of guests filing into the church. Your brother looks like he's about to throw up. I sat in my parked car across the street, watching the scene unfold. Andrea squeezed my hand. Ready? Almost. I checked my phone again. The children's hospital director had just confirmed everything was set up at their venue. The same place where Stuart and Lucille's reception was supposed to be. Kylie! Andrea pointed. Look! My father was helping my mother up the church steps. She kept glancing around nervously, probably hoping I wouldn't show up to make a scene. Your dad really has no idea, does he? Andrea asked softly. None. I watched him straighten his tie, smiling at guests. He thinks everything's perfect. My phone rang, Lucille's number. After 4 rings, I answered. Where are they? Her voice was sharp, controlled panic evident beneath the surface. Where are what? Don't play games. The reception hall is empty. No flowers, no catering, no music set up, nothing. I checked my watch. Oh, that's strange. Have you called Elite Events? Jessica's not answering. None of the vendors are answering. She lowered her voice. I know this is you. I know you did something. Me? I'm just planning a charity event, remember? Listen, you little... She cut off as someone approached her. I could hear Stuart's voice in the background. Everything okay, honey? Fine, she said tightly. Everything's fine. I hung up as Alex sent another text. Lucille's mother just arrived. She's asking about the reception details. Showtime, Andrea said. I started the car. Let's go check on our event. At the Children's Hospital venue, the same luxury hotel where Stuart's reception was supposed to be, everything was perfect. Flowers filled the grand ballroom, tables were elegantly set, and the string quartet was warming up. The hospital director, Dr. Sarah, rushed over. Kylie, the media's already here. They're so excited about the donation. How much did you end up raising? Andrea asked. With Kylie's contribution and the match donations, Dr. Sarah beamed. Enough to fund the entire new wing. My phone buzzed continuously. Messages from my mother, from Stuart, from Lucille. I ignored them all. Alex says the ceremony's ending, Andrea reported, checking her own phone. Should we expect company? Oh, they'll come, I said. They have to. All their guests are about to show up here. Right on cue, my phone rang. My father. Hi, Dad. Kylie, what's going on? The reception venue? They're saying everything was redirected to some charity event. That's right. A pause. Why would you do this? Why don't you ask Stuart about the company accounts? About where your money's really been going? Silence then. What are you talking about? Check your email, Dad. Robert sent you everything an hour ago. Bank statements, transfers, all of it. I could hear him breathing, processing. Is this true? Yes. And maybe next time you want to talk about family loyalty, remember who actually betrayed it. More silence. Then, where are you? At the Grand Plaza Hotel, where Stuart's reception was supposed to be. Come see what your money's really funding instead. I hung up as the first of Stuart's confused wedding guests began arriving. They found not a wedding reception, but a charity gala in full swing, with local news cameras capturing everything. Kylie! Lucille's voice cut through the crowd. She stood in the doorway, still in her wedding dress, Stuart beside her, looking ashen. My parents were right behind them. Welcome to the Children's Hospital benefit, I said loudly, clearly. Since you're all dressed up anyway, why not support a good cause? You ruined everything, Lucille seethed, stepping forward. No! My father's voice rang out. Stuart did that. He held up his phone, displaying Robert's email. Want to explain this, son? Stuart's face went from white to green. Dad, I can explain. The same way you can explain excluding your sister? Or lying to me about where my money was going? My father's voice shook. I trusted you. Guests were staring now, whispers spreading through the crowd. Lucille backed away from Stuart, her perfect day crumbling around her. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sarah called out, taking control of the situation. Welcome to our fundraiser. Please enjoy the celebration. Your presence here today will help save children's lives. As the crowd slowly dispersed into the venue, I caught my mother's eye. For the first time in my life, she looked at me not with disappointment, but with something like respect. And suddenly, standing there amid the chaos I'd created, I felt more like family than I ever had before. How dare you! Lucille advanced toward me, her wedding dress rustling. This was supposed to be my perfect day. Perfect. I looked around the transformed ballroom. I'd say it's better than perfect. We've already raised over $500,000 for sick children. You planned this all along, Stuart accused, his face still ashen. The lost invitation, the charity event, lost invitation, my father interrupted. What lost invitation? Andrea stepped forward. They deliberately excluded Kylie from the wedding, just like they've excluded her from everything else. Is this true? My father turned to my mother, who couldn't meet his eyes. We thought it would be simpler, she whispered. Simpler? He looked around at the gathered crowd, the news cameras, the hospital staff. Like how Stuart made our money disappear? Was that simpler too? Lucille whirled on Stuart. What is he talking about? I can explain, Stuart started. But Dr. Sarah chose that moment to approach with a news reporter. Kylie, would you like to say a few words about your generous donation? The cameras are ready. Don't you dare! Lucille hissed. I smiled directly at her. Actually, I'd love to. I turned to the reporter. This event is dedicated to my family. They taught me everything about the importance of appearances, about keeping up with expectations. So when I discovered my brother had been embezzling from our father's company to fund his lavish lifestyle, I knew exactly what to do with my savings. The reporter's eyes widened. Stuart lunged forward, but my father caught his arm. Not here, he warned. You've done enough damage. I'd like to thank all the wedding guests for coming, I continued into the microphone. Your presence here today will help build a new cancer treatment wing for children who need it most. Sometimes the best celebrations aren't about perfect dresses or fancy receptions. Sometimes they're about doing what's right. Applause broke out across the ballroom. I caught Alex snapping photos of everything. Stuart's crumbling expression, Lucille's fury, my mother's dawning realization. You've ruined us, Lucille spat, yanking off her veil. All our friends, our family. No, my father cut in. You and Stuart did that yourselves. He turned to the crowd. As the unknowing sponsor of what was supposed to be today's wedding, I'm proud to redirect those funds to this worthy cause. And to my daughter Kylie, I'm sorry. I've been blind for too long. More applause. Andrea squeezed my hand as tears threatened. Dad, Stuart pleaded. Please. The police will be here soon, my father said quietly. I've already called them. Lucille backed away from Stuart. The police? What exactly did you do? What he always does, I answered. Whatever it takes to keep up appearances, right, brother? Stuart's face contorted. You self-righteous little. He started toward me, but Alex stepped between us. Smile for the camera, Alex said, snapping a photo of Stuart's rage. The ballroom doors opened again. 2 police officers entered, followed by Robert clutching a folder of documents. Mr. King, one officer asked my father, we need to speak with your son. As they led Stuart away, Lucille turned to my mother. Do something. But my mother was watching me, really seeing me perhaps for the first time. I think enough has been done, she said softly, by all of us. Dr. Sarah clinked a glass, drawing everyone's attention. If I could have your attention, please. We'd like to unveil the name of our new treatment wing. She pulled a cord, revealing a placard. The King Family Healing Centre, where every child matters. I hope you don't mind, she said to my father. Kylie insisted the donation be in the family name. My father's eyes welled up. It's perfect. Perfect? Lucille laughed hysterically. This is what you call perfect? My wedding is ruined, my fiancé is being arrested, and you're all acting like she's some kind of hero. Not a hero, Andrea said. Just someone who finally stood up to bullies. Lucille stormed out, her wedding dress trailing behind her. Through the windows, we could see Stuart being placed in a police car. Kylie? My mother touched my arm. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, I replied. Just do better. We all can. The string quartet began to play. Hospital staff mingled with wedding guests. Somewhere in the crowd, I heard Alec explaining to the reporter how he documented everything. Was it worth it? Andrea asked quietly. Using your house savings like this? I watched my father talking animatedly with Dr. Sarah about the new wing's plans. Watched my mother finally speaking up to defend me to Lucille's shocked parents. Look around, I said. Some things are worth more than houses. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, catching the donation total displayed on the giant screen. $527,000 and climbing. Perfect. Ready? Andrea held open the door to the children's hospital. Almost as ready as I was for Stuart's sentencing last week, I replied, following her inside. The new wing gleamed with fresh paint and possibility. Dr. Sarah met us in the lobby, beaming. The first patients move in tomorrow. Want to see what your revenge built? As we toured the facility, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Are you still coming to dinner tonight? I made your favourite lasagna. She's really trying, isn't she? Andrea peeked at the message. Baby steps. I typed back a quick yes. We passed a playroom filled with art supplies, my personal addition to the wing's design. Through the window, I could see Alec setting up photography equipment. "What's he doing here?" I asked Dr. Sarah. "Documenting everything for the hospital newsletter. His photos from the fundraiser made quite an impression on our board." My phone buzzed again. Lucille. "I know you won't believe me, but thank you. Finding out who Stuart really was before the marriage. Well, just thank you." "Speaking of impressions," Andrea nodded toward the message. "That's unexpected." We reached the final room, a sunny corner space with a perfect view of the city. A small plaque beside the door caught my eye. "The Rachel Memorial Room." I turned to Andrea. "Rachel? As in, your ex-girlfriend Rachel," she confirmed. "The one they wouldn't let you bring to Thomas and Sarah's wedding. Her sister was treated here before she passed away. When I found out, I asked Dr. Sarah if we could name a room in her honour." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you needed to do this for yourself, not for anyone else. But now," she gestured around, "look what your strength built." My father's voice came from behind us. "She's right, you know." I spun around. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "Robert and I just finished setting up the hospital's new financial oversight committee." He looked around the room. "Seems fitting, doesn't it? Using money to heal instead of hide." Dr. Sarah excused herself, leaving us alone. "Have you heard from Stuart?" I asked. "His lawyer says he's accepting the plea deal." Dad straightened a picture on the wall, a child's drawing of a rainbow. 3 years plus restitution. Your mother's taking it hard. And you? I'm proud of you," he said simply. "It took losing one child to make me see the one I'd been overlooking all along." Andrea wiped her eyes. "I should go help Alec with the equipment." After she left, my father turned to me. "About the house you were saving for." "Dad, don't—" "Let me finish. Your mother and I want you to have the lake house, the one you loved as a kid." I stared at him. "But that's your retirement plan." "Plans change. People change," he smiled. "Sometimes it takes a spectacular act of revenge to make them see clearly." My phone buzzed again. A message from Jessica. "Elite Events is officially mine now. The old company couldn't survive the scandal. Having lunch with Lucille next week. Turns out she's actually decent when she's not trying to be perfect." "Karma's funny that way," I showed Dad the message. Speaking of karma, he pulled out his phone, showing me a local news article. "Local wedding scandal leads to record-breaking hospital fundraiser." They're still writing about it. People love a good redemption story, even if it comes with a side of revenge. Through the window, I could see Andrea directing Alec as he photographed children's artwork being hung in the hallway. My phone lit up with another text from my mother, this one with a photo of her infamous lasagna. "You know what the best revenge turned out to be?" I asked Dad. "What's that?" "Finally being seen. Really seen." He hugged me, something he hadn't done in years. "I see you now. We all do." My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Dr. Sarah to all donors. "First patient arrives tomorrow. 7-year-old girl, responding well to treatment. Your generosity made this possible." I looked around the room that bore Rachel's name, thought about all the children who would find healing here, about Andrea's sister, about family, both born and chosen. "Ready for dinner?" Dad asked. "Your mother's probably already setting the table." "Actually," I smiled, "I have a better idea. Why don't we bring dinner here tomorrow? Welcome the first patient together?" He nodded, understanding. "Perfect." And it was perfect, not in the way Stuart and Lucille had planned their wedding to be, but in the way that truth, justice, and real love eventually find their way to the surface. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying something. Sometimes it's about building something better in its place.
The worst part about being invisible is when people look right through you, even at your own mother's birthday party. Even when you're the one who spent 3 days preparing everything, from the hand-rolled spring rolls to the intricately decorated cake that nobody bothered to photograph. I'm Luna, and I've mastered the art of fading into the background at family gatherings. Tonight was no different, except it was the night that changed everything. "Mum, did you see what Uncle Dwayne brought?" My daughter Emma tugged at my sleeve, pointing at the massive wrapped gift in the corner. Of course, my brother had to outdo everyone else with what looked like a 65-inch TV. "That's nice, sweetie," I said, adjusting the wilting flower arrangement that nobody had noticed I'd spent hours on. "Luna, honey, could you grab more ice from the garage?" My mother called from across the room, not even looking in my direction. She was too busy fawning over Dwayne, who was holding court in our living room, regaling everyone with his latest tech company acquisition. "And that's how we closed the deal at $50 million, Dwayne's voice boomed. "The future of tech is all about innovation and bold moves." I grabbed the ice bucket, my knuckles white against the plastic. As I passed through the living room, Sarah, our family friend, touched my arm. "Luna, those spring rolls are amazing, just like your grandmother used to make." Before I could thank her, Dwayne cut in. "Speaking of bold moves, where's that computer engineering degree of yours taking you these days, little sister? Still just playing house?" The room fell quiet. Even the kids stopped their chatter. "I'm raising my daughters," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Someone has to be there for the next generation of innovators." Dwayne laughed, that condescending chuckle that made me want to throw the ice bucket at his head. "Right, because that's exactly what your degree was meant for, packing lunches and driving carpool." "Dwayne," our sister Freya warned, but he was on a roll. "I mean, let's be honest, Luna. You had potential once, but you chose to waste it. Not everyone's cut out for the tech world. Some people are meant to stay in the shallow end of the pool." My mother chuckled nervously. "Oh, Dwayne, you're terrible. Luna, where's that ice?" I stood there, ice bucket frozen in my hands, as my 10-year-old daughter looked up at me with confused eyes. In that moment, something snapped. "You know what, Dwayne?" I set the bucket down with a thud. "You're right. Not everyone's cut out for the tech world. Some people need to buy their way to the top, acquiring other people's innovations because they can't create anything themselves." The room went dead silent. Dwayne's face darkened. "Luna!" my mother gasped. "Apologize to your brother right now." I looked around the room, at my mother's horrified expression, at Sarah's sympathetic glance, at Freya's subtle nod of approval, and finally at my daughter's wide eyes. "I'm sorry," I said, picking up the ice bucket again. "I'm sorry I let you all think I was nothing more than a glorified housewife for so long. That's about to change." I walked out to the garage, my heart pounding. Through the door, I could hear Dwayne's dismissive laugh. "See what I mean? Always so emotional. That's why she could never hack it in tech." In the dim garage, surrounded by boxes of Christmas decorations and outgrown baby clothes, I pulled out my phone. With trembling fingers, I scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Ingrid Flores, my old college roommate and the most brilliant coder I'd ever known. "Hey, Ingrid, it's Luna. Remember that app idea we talked about at the reunion last year? The one you said could revolutionize how people connect? I'm in. All in." There was a pause on the other end. "Are you sure? Last time we talked, you said the timing wasn't right." I looked back at the door where I could still hear Dwayne holding court. "The timing's perfect now. How soon can we meet?" "I can do tomorrow morning. Coffee at the grind. Perfect." I hung up and filled the ice bucket, a smile playing at my lips for the first time that evening. When I returned to the party, Dwayne was opening his gifts, making a show of each one. I set the ice down and watched as my mother opened the massive TV he'd brought, exclaiming over his generosity. But I barely saw it. In my mind, I was already coding, planning, building something that would make them all sit up and take notice, something that would force my brother to eat his words. My daughter tugged at my sleeve again. "Mum, are you okay?" I looked down at her, seeing in her eyes the same spark of curiosity and determination I used to see in my own reflection. "I'm better than okay, sweetie. I'm about to show Uncle Dwayne exactly what the shallow end of the pool can do." The grind was already buzzing with morning coffee seekers when I spotted Ingrid at our usual corner table. She hadn't changed much since college. Same intense eyes, same habit of drumming her fingers when she was excited about an idea. "You look like you're on a mission," she said as I sat down, 2 laptops already open in front of her. "More like a warpath," I replied, pulling out my own notebook. "Remember when we talked about creating an app that could predict and prevent technical failures before they happen?" Ingrid's eyes lit up. "The preventive maintenance AI. Luna. That could revolutionize how companies handle their infrastructure. but the algorithm would need to be perfect, I finished. I know, and I've been working on it, she raised an eyebrow. While raising 2 kids, I pulled out my tablet and showed her the preliminary coding I'd been tinkering with during late nights after the girls went to bed. Turns out insomnia and revenge are great motivators. Ingrid scrolled through my work, her eyes widening. This is actually brilliant. You've created a basic framework that could learn from historical failure patterns, but we'd need massive amounts of data to train it properly. I might have a solution for that, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. Remember Sarah from my brother's company? She heads their data department, and she's been dropping hints about their maintenance issues for years. The same brother who inspired this revenge coding session? The very same. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Family dinner tonight. Don't be late like last time. Ingrid saw my expression change. Let me guess. Family obligations. They still think I'm just playing house, I said, my voice tight. Even my mum. Yesterday, she told me I should be grateful Dwayne gives my daughters such nice birthday presents, since I can't afford much on my own. Then let's prove them wrong. Ingrid turned her laptop around. Look at these market projections. Companies lose billions annually due to preventable technical failures. If we can create an AI that predicts these failures, we could save them millions, I finished, feeling the familiar excitement of a challenging project. But we'd need funding. Infrastructure. Leave that to me, Ingrid said. I've got connections from my time at Silicon Valley, but Luna, are you sure you're ready for this? It's going to be intense. Before I could answer, my daughter Emma's face appeared in the coffee shop window, pressed against the glass. My other daughter Lily waved frantically beside her. Mom, we finished soccer practice early. They burst into the cafe, still in their uniforms. Girls, this is my friend Ingrid, I said as they bounded over. We used to code together in college. You code? Emma's eyes went wide. But Uncle Dwayne said, Uncle Dwayne doesn't know everything, I cut in, perhaps too sharply. Actually, Ingrid and I are working on something pretty exciting. What is it? Lily peered at the laptops. Ingrid smiled and turned her screen toward them. See these patterns? We're teaching computers to predict when other computers might break, so we can fix them before they do. Like when my tablet knew its battery was going to die, Emma asked. Exactly like that. But for big companies with thousands of computers, I said, watching their faces light up with understanding. That's so cool, Lily exclaimed. Can we help? I looked at their eager faces, then at Ingrid. Actually, yes. How would you girls like to be our first test users? We'll need people to try out the app once we build it. Will Uncle Dwayne use it too? Emma asked innocently. Ingrid caught my eye, a slight smirk playing on her lips. Oh, I have a feeling your Uncle Dwayne will definitely be interested in what your mum creates. After dropping the girls at home, I returned to find Ingrid had already drafted a basic project timeline. We can have a prototype in 3 months, she said. But Luna, you'll need to be all in. No holding back. I thought about Dwayne's smirk at yesterday's party, about my mother's dismissive attitudes, about my daughter's amazed faces when they saw what I could do. I'm all in, I said, pulling my laptop closer. But let's make it 2 months. I want to be ready before Dwayne's big merger announcement. Now that's the Luna I remember from our coding competitions, Ingrid grinned. The one who always found a way to shave time off her algorithms. We worked until the sun started setting, the coffee shop emptying around us. My phone buzzed again. Another reminder about family dinner. Go, Ingrid said, waving me off. Keep up appearances, I'll start setting up our development environment. As I gathered my things, she caught my arm. Luna, just remember, the best revenge isn't just success, it's success they never saw coming. I smiled, thinking of my brother's condescending laugh. Oh, they won't see this coming. Not until it's too late to stop it. Walking to my car, I felt lighter than I had in years. The path ahead would be challenging, but for the first time since college, I felt truly alive. The code was flowing through my mind again, and this time, I wouldn't let anyone tell me to stay in the shallow end. Mom, your laptop is making weird noises again. Emma called from the kitchen table, where she was supposedly doing her homework. That's because it's running complex calculations, I explained, not looking up from my screen. The prototype was coming along faster than expected, but we still had bugs to fix. My phone buzzed. Freya, where are you? Mom's having a fit that you missed Sunday brunch. Again? I glanced at the clock. 2:30 p.m. Damn. Girls, pack up your stuff. We need to visit Grandma. 20 minutes later, we pulled into my mother's driveway. Dwayne's Tesla was still there, of course. He never missed a family gathering. There's my favourite nieces. Dwayne's voice boomed as we entered. He was sprawled on the couch, watching golf. Your mum finally remembered we exist, huh? We were busy, Emma said proudly. Mum's teaching us about artificial intelligence. The room went quiet. My mother appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Luna, really? Filling their heads with complicated nonsense when they should be focusing on school? It's not nonsense, Lily protested. Mom's building something amazing. Dwayne laughed. Is she now? What's amazing about it, kiddo? Before I could stop her, Lily launched into an explanation. It's an app that can predict when computers are going to break. Mom says it could save companies millions of... Lily, I cut in sharply. But the damage was done. Dwayne sat up, his amusement fading. Is that so? And where exactly are you getting the data to train this magical AI? That's none of your business, I said, steering the girls toward the kitchen. Mom, do you have any leftovers from brunch? But Dwayne wasn't letting it go. He followed us, his golf game forgotten. Actually, it is my business, especially if you're planning to use any proprietary information. Not everything revolves around your company, Dwayne. Freya appeared in the doorway, sensing the tension. Hey, girls, want to help me check on the garden? After they left, Dwayne lowered his voice. Listen, Luna, playing around with code might be a fun hobby, but don't go getting serious ideas. The tech world isn't for amateurs. Funny, I said, meeting his eyes. That's exactly what your competitors said about you before you bought them out. His face darkened. Watch it, sister. You're out of your depth. My phone buzzed again. Ingrid. Major breakthrough. The prediction accuracy is at 94%. Call me ASAP. Luna, my mother interrupted. Speaking of depth, why don't you help Dwayne with his company's anniversary gala next month? You always had such a knack for planning parties. I gripped my phone tighter. Sorry, Mom, I'm a bit busy these days. Too busy for family? She shook her head. Ever since you started this computer thing, you're never around. What kind of example are you setting for your girls? A pretty good one, actually, Freya said, returning without the kids. She's showing them that mothers can be more than just party planners. Stay out of this, Freya, Dwayne warned. Or what? Freya challenged. You'll mansplain technology to me, too. My phone buzzed continuously now. Ingrid was calling. I need to take this, I said, stepping onto the back porch. Behind me, I could hear Dwayne and my mother's disapproving sighs. Luna! Ingrid's voice was electric with excitement. The algorithm just predicted a major server failure in our test environment 30 minutes before it happened. We're ready for real-world testing. I glanced through the window at Dwayne, who was now lecturing Freya about family loyalty. How soon can we launch? 2 weeks, maybe less, but Luna! We got another email from that venture capitalist. He wants to meet. My heart raced. The one who backed that billion-dollar startup last year? The same. He's heard rumors about what we're building. Says it could be exactly what the industry needs. Through the glass, I saw my daughters return from the garden, their faces lighting up when they saw me. Behind them, Dwayne was checking his phone, his expression growing increasingly concerned. Set up the meeting, I said. And Ingrid, let's accelerate the timeline. I want to launch before Dwayne's merger announcement. That's in 3 weeks, she cautioned. We'd be cutting it close. Trust me, I said, watching my brother's frown deepen as he read something on his phone. The timing needs to be perfect. I hung up just as Sarah, our family friend, rushed onto the back porch. Luna, I've been trying to reach you. The predictive maintenance system at Dwayne's company. It's showing signs of imminent failure. Their current software can't identify the cause. I smiled, thinking of our algorithm's 94% accuracy rate. How unfortunate for them. Sarah's eyes widened with understanding. Your app? It could prevent this, couldn't it? It could, I agreed, but something tells me my brother isn't ready to admit he needs his little sister's help. Inside, I could hear Dwayne barking orders into his phone. For once, I was glad to be invisible. It meant no one noticed my satisfied smile as I watched chaos unfold in the shallow end of the pool. The venture capitalist's office screamed success, all glass and chrome with a view of the bay. Marcus, the man himself, leaned back in his chair, staring at our demo with an intensity that made my palms sweat. "Run it again," he said. Ingrid nodded, restarting the simulation. On the massive screen, our AI predicted 3 system failures in a complex network, highlighting them in red before they occurred. "Impressive," Marcus said, standing up. "But I need to know, how did you get such accurate predictions with limited data?" Before I could answer, my phone lit up. Emma's school. I declined the call, but it immediately rang again. "Take it," Ingrid said. "I'll explain the technical details." I stepped out into the hallway. "Hello? Mrs. Kelly? Emma had a panic attack during her presentation. She's asking for you." My heart sank. "I'll be right there." Back in the conference room, Marcus was nodding enthusiastically at Ingrid's explanation. "The pattern recognition is revolutionary. With proper backing, this could—" "I have to go," I cut in. "Family emergency." His expression shifted. "Mrs. Kelly, while I appreciate family commitments, this level of investment requires—" "My daughter needs me," I said firmly. "Ingrid can handle the technical questions. I'll be back in an hour." I caught Ingrid's supportive nod as I rushed out, but Marcus's frown followed me to the elevator. At school, I found Emma curled up in the nurse's office, her science project poster crumpled beside her. "Baby, what happened?" She looked up, tears streaking her face. "I was telling the class about your app, about how it helps computers. But Tyler said I was lying. He said his dad works for Uncle Dwayne and that you're just a mom who plays with computers." My chest tightened. "Tyler's dad works for your uncle? He's Mr. Percy from the Christmas party," she sniffled. "He said you're trying to hurt Uncle Dwayne's company." Percy. Of course. Dwayne's right-hand man would be feeding his kid propaganda. "Emma, look at me," I said, wiping her tears. "What we're building isn't about hurting anyone. It's about proving that everyone deserves a chance to create something important. Even mums who play with computers." My phone buzzed. "Ingrid, Marcus is interested. Very interested. Where are you?" Then another text from Freya. "Emergency family dinner tonight. Dwayne's making some big announcement. Mom says attendance non-negotiable." "Can we go home?" Emma asked. "I don't want to see Tyler again today." I looked at my daughter's tear-stained face, then at the messages on my phone. "How about we make a deal? We'll go home, get cleaned up, and then show everyone exactly what your mom can do." Back at the venture capitalist's office, Emma sat quietly in the corner with her tablet while I finished the presentation. Marcus was still there, along with 2 other investors. "The market potential is clear," Marcus said, "but your brother's company is announcing a competing product next week." I felt Emma tense behind me. "No, they're not," I said confidently. "They're announcing a merger. One that depends on their current systems working perfectly for the next month." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "And you know this how?" "Because I know my brother, and I know his systems better than he thinks I do." "Mom," Emma called out, "Uncle Dwayne's company is trending on Twitter." We all turned to look at her tablet. The headlines were brutal. "Major system failure at tech giant. Customers report widespread outages." My phone exploded with notifications. "Freya, you need to get to Mom's now. Dwayne is losing it." "If you'll excuse me," I said to Marcus. "I believe my family needs me." He stood up, extending his hand. "We'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow. 5 million in initial funding." Emma's eyes went wide. "Mom, that's—" "Just the beginning," I finished, shaking Marcus's hand. The drive to my mother's house was tense. Emma kept refreshing Twitter, reading out updates about Dwayne's company's meltdown. We walked into chaos. Dwayne was pacing the living room, shouting into his phone. Percy was there too, looking pale. "This is sabotage," Dwayne was saying. "Find out who's responsible." My mother rushed to hug Emma. "Luna, where have you been? Your brother needs family support right now." "Actually," I said, loud enough to cut through the noise, "what he needs is a better predictive maintenance system." The room fell silent. Percy's eyes narrowed. "Like the one you've been developing?" "Exactly like that," I replied, pulling out my tablet. "The same one that predicted this failure 3 days ago." Dwayne's face went from red to purple. "You knew? You knew this would happen and you didn't say anything?" "Like you said, brother, some people need to stay in the shallow end of the pool." I met his gaze. "But sometimes, the shallow end is where you find the cracks in the foundation." Emma stepped forward, her voice small but clear. "Mom's app could fix everything, Uncle Dwayne, if you'd just listen to her." The room held its breath as Dwayne looked from his niece to me, his company crumbling around him, his perfect image shattering like the systems he'd failed to protect. "How much?" he finally asked. I smiled, thinking of Marcus's offer. "Oh, brother, we're way past that now. Tech's newest rising star, the stay-at-home mom taking Silicon Valley by storm." The headline glared from my laptop screen as Ingrid paced our new office, fielding calls from reporters. "No, she's not available for comment right now," she said for the 100th time. "Yes, we'll be at the tech conference next week. No, we're not discussing the rumors about TechVance's system failures." I closed the laptop, my head spinning. In just 3 days, our app had gone from secret project to viral sensation. Marcus's investment had made headlines, and our waiting list for beta testing was growing by the hour. "Mom!" Lily burst into the office, waving her phone. "You're trending on TikTok! Some girl made a video about you showing up her dad who said women can't code." "Wonderful," I muttered, just as my mother's number flashed on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. "Luna," Ingrid said, covering her phone's microphone. "Percy's here. He's demanding to see you." "Send him in." I straightened my jacket, grateful I'd chosen to wear my power suit today. Percy stormed in, his usual polished appearance slightly frayed. "This has gone far enough, Luna. You need to stop this media circus before it destroys your brother's company." "Funny," I said, keeping my voice level. "I don't remember Dwayne worrying about destroying other companies when he was buying them out. This is different. This is family." "Yes, it is." I stood up, and family should have recognized my potential instead of dismissing it. "Mom," Lily tugged at my sleeve, "Uncle Dwayne's on TV again." We all turned to the mounted screen where Dwayne was giving an emergency press conference. He looked tired, his usual confidence cracking around the edges. While we acknowledge the recent technical difficulties, TechVance remains committed to providing the highest quality service to our clients. "He's drowning," Percy said quietly. "Your little revenge project is working. Happy now?" Before I could respond, Sarah burst into the office. "Luna, you need to see this. Someone leaked internal emails from TechVance. They knew about the system vulnerabilities months ago but covered them up." My blood ran cold. "What?" "It's all over Twitter. The timestamps, the warning signs, everything." Sarah pulled up the feeds on her tablet. They ignored multiple red flags because fixing the issues would have delayed the merger. Percy's face went ash white. "Those emails were confidential. They were negligent," I corrected. "And now everyone knows it." My phone buzzed again. "Freya, turn on Channel 7 now." The news anchor's voice filled the room. Breaking news about TechVance's corporate practices. Sources claim the company's leadership, including CEO Dwayne Kelly, deliberately ignored warnings about system vulnerabilities. In related news, former employee Luna Kelly's new predictive maintenance app has been hailed as a potential solution to prevent such catastrophic failures. "Mum," Lily whispered. "You're famous." Percy stepped closer, his voice low. "Call off the dogs, Luna. Work with us. We can make this beneficial for everyone. Like Dwayne made things beneficial for me." I gestured to the screen where his press conference was imploding. "By treating me like a hobby coder playing house?" "You've made your point," he pleaded, But this isn't just about Dwayne anymore. Thousands of jobs are at stake. My phone lit up with another call, this time from Marcus. The tech conference wants you to give the keynote speech, he said when I answered. They're bumping Dwayne from the slot. I looked at Percy's desperate face, at my daughter's proud expression, at Ingrid's questioning glance. Tell them I'll do it, I said to Marcus, but I have one condition. After hanging up, I turned to Percy. Tell my brother I want a meeting, tonight, just the two of us. And if he refuses, then I'll tell my story at the keynote. All of it, including how Tech Vance's CEO treated his own sister's technological innovations. Percy left quickly, already dialing Dwayne's number. Ingrid waited until the door closed before speaking. Are you sure about this? We have them on the ropes. We could... Could what? I interrupted. Destroy my brother's company? Watch him crash and burn? I looked at Lily, still clutching her phone with its viral videos. What kind of example would that set? The kind that shows consequences, Ingrid argued. No, I said, watching another news segment about Tech Vance's failures. The kind that perpetuates a cycle of revenge. There has to be a better way. My phone buzzed one final time. Dwayne. Fine. Meeting at 8. The old diner where Dad used to take us. I smiled, remembering the countless Sunday mornings we'd spent there as kids, dreaming about changing the world through technology, before competition and pride got in the way, before the shallow end became a weapon instead of a starting point. Mum? Lily's voice pulled me back. Are you going to help Uncle Dwayne? I hugged her close, watching the chaos unfold on multiple screens. No, sweetie, I'm going to help him help himself. Sometimes that's the best revenge of all. The neon sign of Joe's diner flickered in the evening darkness, just like it had 20 years ago. Dwayne was already there, occupying our old booth by the window, looking smaller somehow without his usual corporate armor. You're late, he said as I slid into the seat across from him. Actually, I'm right on time. I picked up the menu, though we both knew it hadn't changed in decades. Still getting the blueberry pancakes? Cut the small talk, Luna. He pushed a stack of papers across the table. Here's our offer. Full acquisition of your app, plus a senior position at Tech Vance. I didn't even glance at the papers. No. It's a generous offer. More than generous, considering... Considering what? I set down the menu. Considering I'm just playing house? Or considering your company is hemorrhaging clients while mine is trending on social media? The waitress appeared, coffee pot in hand. Well, if it isn't the Kelly kids, your usual orders. Yes, we said simultaneously, then glared at each other. After she left, Dwayne leaned forward. What do you want, Luna? Revenge? Public humiliation? Because you're getting both. I want what I've always wanted, recognition, respect, a seat at the table that isn't in the kids' section. You walked away from the table, he snapped. You chose to be a mother instead of... Instead of what? A real professional? Newsflash, Dwayne. I never stopped being an engineer. I just added mom to my skill set. The waitress returned with our orders. Blueberry pancakes for him, chocolate chip for me. Just like when we were kids and Dad would bring us here after his night shifts. Remember what Dad used to say? I asked, cutting into my pancakes. About how technology should bring people together, not drive them apart. Dwayne's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Don't bring him into this. Why not? He's the reason we both went into tech. The difference is, I stayed true to his vision while you got lost in corporate politics. I built an empire. You built a house of cards, I corrected. And now it's falling because you forgot the most basic principle of engineering. Always check your foundation. His phone buzzed. More bad news, judging by his expression. The merger's falling apart, he admitted. Our stock is in free fall. I know. I pulled out my tablet and pulled up our app's interface. But it doesn't have to be. What do you mean? I turned the screen toward him. This is a live simulation of your network. See these red spots? Their potential failure points are AI identified. And these green paths? They're solution roadmaps. Dwayne studied the screen, his engineer's mind engaging despite himself. The prediction accuracy is remarkable. It should be. I used all those late-night coding sessions with Dad as inspiration. Remember how he taught us to think of networks as living organisms? With interconnected systems that need to work in harmony, he finished, a ghost of a smile crossing his face. He would have loved this. He would have loved seeing us work together on it. Dwayne looked up sharply. Together? I nodded. I don't want to destroy TechVance, Dwayne. I want to transform it, not as your employee, but as your partner. A partnership? He laughed, but it wasn't his usual condescending chuckle. The board would never approve. The board doesn't have a choice. Your company needs my technology, and my company needs your infrastructure. But more importantly, I reached across the table and tapped his phone, where another crisis notification was flashing. Your little sister needs to know her big brother still believes in her. The waitress appeared with fresh coffee. You two remind me so much of your father right now, she said, filling our cups. He always said his kids would change the world someday. After she left, Dwayne was quiet for a long moment. You really think we could work together? After everything? I think we have to try. For Dad. For my daughters. For all the other little girls who are told to stay in the shallow end. He picked up the acquisition papers and slowly tore them in half. Freya's going to love this. She always said we were stronger together than apart. Speaking of Freya, I checked my phone. She's been texting me updates about Mum's reaction to all this. Apparently, she's finally telling everyone about her own secret coding project. Dwayne nearly choked on his coffee. Mom codes? Where do you think we got it from? Dad may have inspired us, but Mom was the one debugging his programs late at night. For the first time in years, my brother's genuine laugh filled the diner. We really don't know everything about our family, do we? No, I smiled, pulling up a new contract on my tablet, one for a true partnership. But maybe it's time we learned. As we sat there hammering out details over cooling pancakes, I realized this was better than revenge. This was redemption, for both of us. The boardroom was packed. Every executive from TechVance sat on one side, their faces a mix of skepticism and barely concealed hostility. On my side sat Ingrid, Marcus, and our legal team. Dwayne stood at the head of the table, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. The terms are simple, he began. A full merger between TechVance and Luna's company, with shared leadership and— This is absurd, Percy interrupted, standing up. We're talking about giving half our company to a startup that's barely 6 months old? A startup that predicted and could have prevented our recent catastrophic failures, Dwayne countered. Which they suspiciously knew about in advance, Percy shot back, glaring at me. I stood up slowly. Would you like to see exactly how we knew? I brought receipts. Opening my laptop, I projected our data onto the wall screen. These are your system logs from the past year. Every warning sign, every red flag, every potential failure point that you ignored. Our AI didn't just predict the failures, it mapped your entire history of negligence. The room erupted in murmurs. Percy's face turned red. Those logs are confidential. This is corporate espionage. Actually, Sarah spoke up from the back of the room, as head of data management, I authorized Luna's access months ago. It's all documented. Percy whirled on her. You betrayed us? No, Sarah said firmly. I protected us. Someone had to. Enough! Dwayne's voice cut through the chaos. The merger isn't up for debate. The only question is whether you're all smart enough to be part of it. Just then, the door burst open. My mother walked in, followed by Freya. Mom? Dwayne and I said simultaneously. What are you doing here? She straightened her jacket, not her usual floral dress, but a sharp business suit. I'm here to vote my shares. Or did you both forget that your father left me 30% of TechVance? The room went silent. Percy sank back into his chair. Mom, Dwayne started, you've never shown interest in company decisions before. Because you never asked, she said, taking a seat at the table. Too busy assuming I was just the little woman who packed your lunches and planned your parties. She turned to me, her eyes twinkling. Sound familiar, dear? I couldn't help but laugh. Like mother, like daughter? Exactly. She pulled out her own laptop. Now, about those system vulnerabilities. I've been running some diagnostics of my own. You what? Percy sputtered. Oh, yes, Freya grinned. Who do you think taught us to code in the first place? Dad may have been the face of the family's tech adventures, but Mom was the real genius behind the scenes. My mother projected her own analysis, which perfectly matched our AI's predictions. The merger isn't just a good idea, it's essential for survival. Luna's innovation combined with TechVance's infrastructure could revolutionize the industry. And if we refuse? Percy challenged. Then I'll vote my shares in favor of new management, she said simply. Starting with you, Percy. The room erupted again, but this time with different energy. Board members who had been glaring at me were now nodding thoughtfully, looking between their screens and my mother's presentation. I move to vote, Sarah called out. Seconded, came another voice. As the votes were tallied, I felt Ingrid squeeze my hand under the table. We did it, she whispered. The final count was overwhelming. 89% in favor of the merger. Percy stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Well, Dwayne said, looking slightly shell-shocked, I guess we're really doing this. Yes, we are, I agreed, standing up to shake his hand. Partners. Partners, he echoed, then pulled me into an unexpected hug. I'm sorry, Luna, for everything. Save it for the press conference, I whispered back. We've got a better story to tell now. As the room cleared out, my mother stayed behind, still typing on her laptop. The system integration should be relatively straightforward, she said casually. I've already drafted a framework. Mom, I said, sitting beside her. Why didn't you ever tell us? She smiled, closing her laptop. Sometimes the best way to support others is to let them find their own path. I knew you'd figure it out eventually, both of you. But all those years watching Dwayne and me fight taught you both valuable lessons. Him about humility, you about persistence. She stood up, straightening her suit. Now, who's hungry? I hear Joe's diner has excellent pancakes. Dwayne laughed from the doorway. Some things never change. No, my mother said, looking between us with pride. But some things change for the better. As we left the boardroom, now a family again but stronger and wiser, I checked my phone. Emma had texted, Did you win, Mom? I smiled, typing back. We all did, baby. We all did. The revenge I'd sought had transformed into something far more powerful. Understanding. As we headed to the diner, I realized the shallow end of the pool had never been the problem. The problem was letting others define its depth. And now, to present our keynote on the future of predictive technology, please welcome Luna and Dwayne. I cut the announcer off, stepping onto the stage. Just Luna, please. I've earned the right to stand on my own. The conference hall erupted in applause. In the front row, Emma and Lily beamed, while my mother wiped away tears. Dwayne sat next to them, giving me a subtle thumbs up. Everyone loves a story about revenge, I began, pacing the stage, the underdog rising up, the mighty falling. But today I want to talk about something more powerful than revenge, recognition. The screen behind me lit up with our app's interface, now integrated seamlessly with TechVance's systems. This technology wasn't born from corporate competition or market analysis. It was born at my kitchen table, between helping with homework and making dinner. I clicked to the next slide, showing a photo of my daughters testing the beta version. Innovation doesn't care where you work. It doesn't care if you're in a corner office or a home office. It only cares if you're brave enough to challenge the status quo. Movement at the back of the hall caught my eye. Percy slipped in, looking uncomfortable but determined. He'd called earlier, asking to rejoin the company in a reduced role. His humility had surprised me. When we launched our merger last week, people called it a corporate fairy tale. David and Goliath joining forces. I smiled at Dwayne. But they missed the point. This isn't about little versus big or home versus office. It's about recognizing that innovation can come from anywhere. The next slide showed my mother's original coding projects from the 1980s. Sometimes the most powerful code runs silently in the background, unrecognized, but essential. Like the women who taught themselves programming while their children slept, or the mothers who debug systems between soccer practices. In the audience, Sarah nodded, thinking of all the times she'd protected the company from itself. Beside her, Freya gave me a proud smile. Our merged company isn't just combining technologies, I continued. We're combining perspectives, the view from the corner office and the view from the kitchen table, because sometimes you need both to see the complete picture. I clicked to my final slide, a simple photo of our family at Joe's Diner, taken just yesterday. The shallow end of the pool isn't a limitation. It's a foundation, and I'm grateful to everyone who tried to keep me there, because it taught me how to build something deeper. The applause was deafening, but I wasn't finished. Which brings me to our latest announcement. Tech Vance Luna is launching a scholarship program for parent programmers, because no one should have to choose between raising a family and raising the bar in tech. Emma jumped up, cheering. Lily whistled with her fingers, a trick Ingrid had taught her. Even Percy was clapping. After the presentation, we gathered in the green room. Dwayne approached with 2 coffee cups, blueberry pancake flavoured, our dad's favourite. Not bad for a hobby coder, he said, handing me a cup. Not bad for a corporate sellout, I replied, grinning. Our mother joined us, still in her business suit. Your father would be so proud, not of the success, though that's nice too, but of how you both finally learned to see each other clearly. Speaking of seeing clearly, Ingrid called from the doorway, the new system just predicted another potential failure in the Asian markets, but this time we caught it early. On it, Dwayne and I said simultaneously, then laughed. I'll handle it, he said. You've got 2 very excited daughters waiting to celebrate with their tech superhero mom. They're waiting for both of us, I corrected. Their uncle the CEO and their mom the innovator. The whole family's going to Joe's Diner. The whole family, my mother repeated softly, taking both our hands. Finally. As we walked out together, reporters clamoured for attention. Luna, how does it feel to go from stay-at-home mum to tech pioneer? I stopped, looking at my daughter's proud faces. I didn't go from one to the other. I've always been both. The world just wasn't ready to see it until now. Emma tugged at my sleeve. Mom, Tyler from school wants to know if he can join your coding camp this summer, the one for kids whose parents work in tech. Of course he can, I said, catching Percy's grateful look from across the room. Everyone's welcome in the shallow end. That's where all the best ideas start. Later at the diner, surrounded by family, friends, and endless plates of pancakes, I watched Dwayne teaching Lily about system architecture while my mother debugged code with Ingrid. Emma sat between them, soaking it all in, her future unlimited by anyone's expectations. More coffee, boss? The waitress asked with a wink. Just Luna, I corrected her, smiling. I'm not anyone's boss. I'm just a mum who codes. And that, Freya said, raising her coffee cup, is exactly what makes you a boss. We clinked our cups together, celebrating not the revenge I'd sought, but the recognition I'd found, not just from others, but from myself. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in proving others wrong, but in proving yourself right.
The last box of my life fit perfectly in the trunk of my beat-up Honda Civic. 15 years of marriage, reduced to cardboard containers and 2 suitcases. I stood in the driveway, keys dangling from my trembling fingers, when I heard their voices drift through the open window of what used to be my home. I always knew she wasn't good enough for my Damon. Michaela's voice sliced through the evening air. Now we can finally get rid of all traces of her artistic mess. I'm Elise, and this is how I lost everything I thought I had built. Well, almost everything. Mommy, can I bring Mr. Whiskers? My daughter Kylie's small voice called from the back seat, clutching her favorite stuffed cat. At least I hadn't lost what mattered most. Of course, sweetie. I managed to smile, though my chest felt like it was being crushed. The front door opened, and Michaela emerged, her perfectly coiffed silver hair catching the sunset. Still here? I thought I made it clear you needed to be gone by 6. Her lips curved into what others might mistake for a smile, but I knew better. We're leaving, I said, straightening my spine. Just making sure we didn't forget anything important. Important? She laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Everything important belongs to the family, and you, dear, are no longer family. My fingers curled into fists. Kylie is family. Oh, we'll see about that too. Her words hit like ice water. Damon's lawyer will be in touch about custody arrangements. Before I could respond, a sleek BMW pulled into the driveway. Damon stepped out, Harmony close behind him, 29, gorgeous, and everything I apparently wasn't anymore at 34. "Dad," Kylie called out, but I touched her shoulder gently. "Not now, sweetheart. We need to go." Damon at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Elise, he started. "Save it," I cut him off, climbing into the driver's seat. As I started the engine, I caught snippets of conversation through my open window. "The gallery opening next month," Michaela was saying to someone on her phone. "Make sure her name is removed from the list. In fact, let's make sure she's not welcome at any of the local exhibitions." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Art was my life, my career, my escape, and now she was trying to take that too. "Where are we going?" Kylie asked as we pulled away from the house. "To Aunt Cadence's," I replied, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. "Remember her? She's got that cool studio where you can paint whatever you want. Can we paint unicorns? All the unicorns in the world, baby." The drive to Cadence's small apartment took 20 minutes, each one feeling like an hour. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I checked it at a red light. "Heard about your situation. Michaela's making calls. She's telling everyone you stole from the family. Better watch your back." A friend. My stomach churned. In our small town, Michaela's influence ran deep. She sat on every important board, attended every significant social event, and controlled more than just the art scene. Cadence was waiting outside when we pulled up, her wild curly hair a mess as usual. She rushed to help with our bags. "I've got the guest room ready," she said, hugging me tight. "And my studio is your studio." "I don't know how to thank you," I whispered, "by not giving up." She grabbed a box. "Oh, and Penny Thompson called me earlier. She's looking for new artists for her gallery." "Penny? But she's the only gallery owner in town who doesn't kiss Michaela's ring?" "Exactly." Cadence winked. "Sometimes the universe has a way of opening doors when others slam shut." Later that night, after Kylie was asleep in the guest bed, I sat on Cadence's balcony with a glass of wine. My phone kept lighting up with notifications, friends suddenly unfriending me on social media, cancellations for commissioned pieces, and one particularly nasty email from the local art association. "I heard Michaela's planning to drive you out of town completely," Cadence said, joining me with her own glass. "She's telling everyone you're unstable, that you threatened Harmony." I laughed bitterly. "Of course she is." "You know what the best revenge would be?" Cadence leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Success. Real, undeniable success. The kind she can't touch." I took a long sip of wine, considering her words. Maybe she was right. Maybe losing everything was exactly what I needed to finally build something of my own. "First thing tomorrow," I said. "I'm calling Penny Thompson." No, absolutely not." I shook my head at Cadence as she tried to arrange my paintings at the local farmer's market. "The sunset piece needs more light." 2 weeks had passed since the night we'd fled to her apartment. My hands were paint-stained again, and for the first time in days, I felt something close to normal. "There." Cadence adjusted the display. "Now, remember what I said. Price them like you mean it. No more underselling yourself." I was about to argue when a familiar tune caught my attention. Someone was humming Moon River, my grandmother's favorite song. I turned to find an elegant woman in her 50s, studying my largest canvas. "This speaks to me," she said, tracing the air in front of the painting without touching it. "The anger in these brushstrokes, but there's hope too, like a storm breaking." "That's exactly what I was going for," I said, surprised by her insight. She turned, extending her hand. "I'm Penny, and you must be Elise." My heart skipped. "Penny Thompson? From the Grove Gallery?" "The very same." She smiled warmly. "Cadence has told me about your work, and about your situation." I shot Cadence a look, but she was suddenly very interested in reorganizing my business cards. "Don't be mad at her," Penny said. "We need to stick together in this town, especially with Michaela throwing her weight around." "You know Michaela?" Penny's laugh was sharp. Oh, honey, everyone knows Michaela. She tried to shut down my gallery 3 years ago when I refused to feature her nephew's terrible photography. A young couple approached my booth, and I excused myself to help them. They were about to buy a small piece when the woman's phone buzzed. She checked it, whispered something to her partner, and they hurried away. Let me guess, Penny said. They got the mass text. What mass text? She pulled out her phone, showing me a message. Warning. Local artist Elise G sells fraudulent work. Pieces are copied from real artists. Avoid purchasing. My hands started shaking. She can't do this. She can't just... She can, and she is. Penny's voice was steel. But here's what we're going to do about it. For the next hour, Penny outlined her plan. Her gallery was hosting a major show next month, featuring women artists from across the state. I want you to be part of it, she said. But Michaela doesn't control my gallery. Penny's eyes sparkled. And wait until you meet the other artists. There's something brewing in this town, something bigger than Michaela's petty revenge. Just then, Kylie came running up with Cadence's brother Terrence, who'd been watching her while I worked. Mom, look what I made. She held up a friendship bracelet, beaming. It's beautiful, sweetie. I knelt to examine it. I made one for you too, she said, tying it around my wrist. And one for Ms. Penny. Penny accepted the bracelet with genuine delight. You know, she said to me quietly, as Kylie showed Terrence her other creations. My mother used to say that the universe speaks through children. They see truth we adults sometimes miss. She hummed Moon River again, and suddenly I was back in my grandmother's studio, watching her paint while singing that very song. How do you know that tune? I asked. Your grandmother taught it to me. Margaret was my first art teacher, back when I was just a girl with dreams bigger than this small town. My throat tightened. You knew my grandmother? She's the reason I opened the Grove. She always said art should be accessible to everyone, not just the social elite. Penny touched my arm. She'd be proud of you, you know, standing your ground. Later that evening, as I was packing up, a familiar BMW pulled into the parking lot. My heart raced as Damon stepped out. Elise, he said, looking uncomfortable. Can we talk? I think we said everything we needed to when you left. It's about Kylie. She's pushing for full custody. Says you're unstable, living with a friend, no steady income. Stop. My voice was stronger than I felt. Just stop. You want to talk about Kylie? Talk to my lawyer. I never wanted... What you wanted stopped mattering the moment you chose her over your family. I turned to Penny, who had appeared silently beside me. I'll see you tomorrow at the gallery? 9 sharp, she smiled. We have a show to plan. As Damon watched us walk away, Penny linked her arm through mine. You know what your grandmother would say right now? What? The best revenge is living well. But, she added with a wink, making amazing art that sells for thousands while your ex-mother-in-law watches helplessly is a close second. For the first time in weeks, I laughed, really laughed, and somewhere in that sound, I heard the beginning of something new taking shape. The Grove Gallery hummed with energy as I hung my final piece, a massive canvas depicting women rising from storm clouds, their faces both defiant and serene. 3 weeks of preparation had transformed the space into something magical. Perfect placement, Penny said, adjusting the spotlight. This one's going to be our centerpiece. A group of women gathered nearby, chatting excitedly. They were part of what we'd started calling the Collective, local female artists who'd been silenced or sidelined over the years. Some by Michaela, others by different forces, but all with stories that needed telling. Did you hear? Cadence rushed in, barely containing her excitement. The State Art Magazine is sending a reporter. Felicity just confirmed it. Penny's cousin Felicity, a journalist with connections throughout the art world, had been instrumental in spreading word about our show. Ladies, Penny called out, clapping her hands. Circle up. We need to discuss tonight's preview. 20 women formed a loose circle in the gallery's center. I recognized faces I'd known for years but never really known. Sarah from the coffee shop, who did incredible metal sculptures, Maria, who taught art at the high school, Rebecca, who'd been rejected from every local show for being too controversial. Tonight isn't just an art show, Penny continued. It's a statement. Each of you has something powerful to say, and finally, we're saying it together. The front door chimed, and we all turned to see Harmony standing there, looking uncertain. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I saw the lights on, and I love art, and I heard about the show. The room went silent. My heart pounded as everyone looked between us. Welcome, I said, surprising myself. Would you like a tour? Confusion crossed her face. Oh, you're Elise? In the flesh. She started to back away. I should go. I didn't know. Stay, Penny interjected. Art doesn't discriminate. Neither do we. As I showed Harmony around, something unexpected happened. She was genuinely moved by the work, asking intelligent questions, sharing her own love of painting. I used to paint, she admitted, but Michaela said it wasn't appropriate for someone in her family to pursue such an, unstable career. Sounds familiar, Rebecca muttered nearby. Before Harmony left, she paused at my centerpiece. This is incredible, she said softly. I wish things were different. They can be, I replied. The preview event began at 7. The gallery filled quickly with collectors, critics, and locals curious about the buzz. I was discussing my technique with a potential buyer when Cadence grabbed my arm. Incoming, she whispered. Michaela just pulled up. Sure enough, Michaela swept in moments later, her designer dress and perfectly coiffed hair a stark contrast to our artistic, casual vibe. She stopped dead when she saw my centerpiece. What is this? She demanded, turning to Penny. You're featuring her work? I'm featuring 20 talented artists, Penny replied calmly, each chosen on merit alone. Merit? Michaela laughed. She's nothing but a failed housewife playing with paint. Actually, a deep voice interrupted, she's brilliant. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped forward. I'm Marcus from the State Gallery Board. We're very interested in several pieces here, particularly Ms. Elise's series. Michaela's face reddened. You can't be serious. She's creating exactly the kind of innovative, emotionally resonant work we're looking for, Marcus finished. In fact, we'd like to discuss a traveling exhibition featuring the collective. The room buzzed with excitement. I caught Harmony's eye across the gallery. She'd returned with several friends. She gave me a small, encouraging smile. This is absurd, Michaela sputtered. I've supported this town's art scene for decades. I've guided it, shaped it, controlled it, Penny corrected, but not anymore. One by one, women stepped forward, sharing stories of how Michaela had blocked their work, threatened their livelihoods, or demanded changes to their art to fit her vision. You'll regret this, Michaela hissed at me. All of you will. The only regret, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, is how long we let one person dictate our artistic expression. That ends tonight. As Michaela stormed out, Felicity appeared with her camera. Smile, ladies. This is going on the front page of tomorrow's arts section. The rest of the evening was a blur of sales, conversations, and possibilities. By closing time, most of my pieces had sold, including the centerpiece to Marcus himself. We did it, Cadence hugged me tight. We actually did it. This is just the beginning, Penny announced to our group. The collective is real now. We're a force to be reckoned with. Later, as we cleaned up, I found a note tucked into my purse, in Harmony's handwriting. Thank you for showing me what courage looks like. I'm leaving him, and I'm starting to paint again. I smiled, pinning the note to the gallery's inspiration board. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like what you expect. Sometimes it looks like freedom. Mom, look! Kylie pointed excitedly at the newspaper. That's you! The arts section featured a full-color spread about the collective's gallery opening. My centerpiece dominated the page, with Felicity's article detailing our artistic revolution in a small town. The photo captured all of us, arms linked, smiling with the kind of confidence I thought I'd lost forever. My phone buzzed. Damon's number. What do you want? I answered, stepping onto Cadence's balcony. Have you seen what you're doing to my mother? His voice was tight. She's in tears, Elise. People are canceling their memberships to her arts foundation. Funny how consequences work, isn't it? This isn't you. The Elise I knew wouldn't. The Elise you knew died the day you left. I gripped the railing. And this new version? She's done being silent. A knock at the door interrupted us. Cadence answered it, then called out urgently, "Elise, you need to see this." I hung up and rushed inside. Rebecca stood in the doorway, shaking. Her phone displayed a social media post, photos of her more controversial pieces alongside accusations of moral corruption and dangerous influences. The comments were vicious. "It's happening to all of us," she said. "Michaela's friends are reporting our social media accounts, calling our employers, even contacting our landlords." My own phone started flooding with notifications. Someone had posted old photos from my college days, twisted with suggestive captions and false stories. "She's trying to destroy us," Cadence said, scrolling through her phone. "Sarah just lost her coffee shop job. Maria's being questioned by the school board." "No," I said firmly. "We're not letting her win. Call everyone. Emergency meeting at Penny's. Now." Within an hour, the collective gathered in Penny's back garden. The fear was palpable, but so was the anger. "My landlord's threatening eviction," Maria said. "Apparently someone suggested I'm running an adult business from my apartment." "The school board's reviewing my contract," Rebecca added. "They're calling my art inappropriate for children." "Ladies," Penny's voice cut through the panic. "This is exactly what Michaela wants. Fear, division, surrender." "But what can we do?" Sarah asked. "She has all the power." "No," I stood up. "She has influence. We have truth. And numbers." Just then, an unexpected voice joined us. "And you have me." Harmony stepped into the garden, followed by Felicity. "Why should we trust you?" Rebecca demanded. "Because I have proof." Harmony held up her phone. Screenshots, emails, recordings, everything showing how Michaela manipulates people, including what she did to Elise and others before her. The garden erupted in discussion. Felicity examined Harmony's evidence with professional interest. "This is gold," she said, "but publishing it could be risky." "I don't care anymore," Harmony replied. "I watched her destroy my relationship with art. Then she tried to mold me into another one of her perfect society puppets. I'm done." My phone buzzed again. "Damon." "What now?" I answered. "Is Harmony with you?" He sounded different, worried. "Mother's losing it, Elise. She's talking about lawsuits, calling in favors. I've never seen her like this." "Good," I said. "Maybe she'll finally understand how it feels to lose control. Just be careful. She's not going to stop." As if on cue, our phones chimed simultaneously. A mass email from Michaela's Arts Foundation announced an emergency town hall meeting tomorrow night regarding the moral decay of our arts community. "Perfect," Penny smiled. "She's giving us exactly what we need, an audience." We spent the next hours planning. Felicity would prepare a story exposing Michaela's tactics. The collective would prepare a presentation of our work, focusing on its positive impact on the community. Harmony would speak publicly about her experiences. As everyone left, energized with purpose, I found myself alone with Harmony. "Why are you really helping us?" I asked. She touched one of my smaller paintings, a simple scene of Kylie painting. "Because this is real art. It makes people feel something true." She paused. "I was wrong to let Michaela convince me that love could be calculated like a business transaction." "Does Damon know you're here?" "He will." She smiled sadly. "We both need to stop letting others define our worth." Later that night, as Kylie slept surrounded by her stuffed animals, I received another text from an unknown number. "Watch your back. Tomorrow night won't go as planned. Michaela's got something big prepared. A friend." I forwarded it to Penny, who responded immediately. "Good. The bigger she makes it, the harder she'll fall." I walked to my easel, where a new piece was taking shape, a phoenix rising from ashes, but the ashes were torn canvas and broken paintbrushes. Around it, small figures reached up, catching sparks and turning them into stars. "What are you painting, Mommy?" Kylie's sleepy voice surprised me. "The future, baby," I said, lifting her onto my lap. "Want to help?" She picked up a brush, and together we added more stars to the darkness, each one a tiny act of defiance against those who would dim our light. The town hall buzzed with tension as people filed in. Michaela stood at the podium, arranging papers with trembling hands, while her supporters filled the front rows. The collective sat together on the left side, our bright clothes a stark contrast to their muted tones. "She's got the mayor here," Cadence whispered, nodding toward the stage, "and half the city council." "Good," Penny replied. "More witnesses." Felicity slipped into the seat beside me. "Articles ready to go live. Just waiting for the right moment." The lights dimmed, and Michaela tapped the microphone. "Thank you all for coming tonight. We're here to discuss a serious threat to our community's values." A slideshow started behind her, carefully selected images of our more provocative pieces, taken out of context. "These so-called artists are corrupting our town's cultural heritage." "That's my piece," Rebecca hissed. "She completely twisted its meaning." "And their leader," Michaela continued, clicking to a photo of me, clearly taken without my knowledge, has a history of destructive behavior. The next slides showed social media posts I'd never made, emails I'd never written. My hands clenched into fists. "Furthermore," Michaela's voice rose, "these women are operating without proper permits, endangering our children with their radical ideas, and—" "That's enough." The voice rang out clear and firm. Harmony stood up from the back row. "Every word you're saying is a lie, and you know it." Michaela's face reddened. "Sit down, dear. You're confused." "No, I'm finally seeing clearly." Harmony walked to the center aisle. "Should I tell everyone about the fake social media accounts you created? Or how about the threatening calls you made to landlords and employers?" "Security!" Michaela called out, but no one moved. I stood up next. "Or should we discuss how you tried to take my daughter away because I wouldn't bow to your control?" One by one, the collective members rose, each sharing their story. Maria described the false complaints to the school board. Sarah detailed the lies told to her coffee shop employer. "This is ridiculous," Michaela sputtered. "I have proof." "Actually," Felicity stood, holding up her phone, "we have proof. Real proof. My article just went live, including recordings, screenshots, and sworn statements from dozens of people you've threatened over the years." The room erupted in murmurs as people pulled out their phones, reading the exposé in real time. "You can't do this to me," Michaela's voice cracked. "I built this town's art scene." "No," Penny walked to the podium. "You controlled it. There's a difference." She turned to address the crowd. "The real art scene is about community, growth, and truth. Let us show you." At her signal, the lights shifted, and hidden panels around the room dropped, revealing an impromptu gallery. Pieces from every collective member told stories of struggle, triumph, and human connection. "This is what art should be," Penny continued. "Not a weapon for social control, but a bridge between hearts." The mayor stood up, looking troubled. "These accusations against Michaela, they're very serious." "And true," a new voice added. Damon walked in, carrying a thick folder. "I have copies of every email, every threat, every manipulated document, including what she planned to use to take Kylie away from her mother." Michaela staggered. "Damon, how dare you?" "No, Mother, how dare you? You didn't just hurt Elise. You've hurt everyone in this room in some way, including me." The crowd's murmurs grew louder. People began moving away from Michaela, some joining the collective's side of the room. "I move to immediately suspend Michaela from all civic positions pending investigation," a council member announced. "Seconded," another added quickly. "You can't." Michaela grabbed the podium. "Without me, this town's culture will collapse into chaos." "Actually," I stepped forward, "it will finally be free to grow." The vote was quick and decisive. As Michaela was escorted out, still protesting, the energy in the room shifted. People gathered around our artwork, asking questions, sharing stories of their own experiences. "Mom!" Kylie ran to me from where she'd been waiting with Terrence. "Did we win?" I lifted her up, hugging her tight. "We did something better, baby. We told the truth." Later that night, the collective gathered at Penny's gallery. Harmony and Damon joined us, both looking lighter somehow. "So what now?" Sarah asked, raising her glass. "Now," Penny smiled. "We build something new, something real." My phone buzzed with a text from Felicity. Story's gone viral, state papers picking it up, you're trending. But it wasn't the headlines I cared about. It was the sight of Kylie drawing alongside Rebecca's daughter, of Maria planning new classes for her students, of Sarah sketching ideas for her coffee shop's new art space. You know what this means? Cadence nudged me, grinning. The Autumn Arts Festival needs new leadership. I looked around at these women who had become more than colleagues. They were family now. I think we can handle that. Outside, the evening sky blazed with colors that begged to be painted, and for the first time in months, I felt completely, wonderfully free. You can't be serious. I stared at the email on Penny's computer screen. The National Arts Foundation wants to feature the collective? Not just feature, Penny grinned. They want us to headline their autumn showcase in New York. 2 months had passed since the town hall showdown. The collective had grown from 20 members to over 50, with artists coming from neighboring towns to join our movement. There's more, Penny clicked another email. Remember that developer who wanted to tear down the old theater for luxury condos? They're offering it to us instead, as a permanent gallery and teaching space. My coffee cup clattered against its saucer. How can we possibly afford? State arts funding, Felicity breezed in, waving a document. Just got approved. Turns out when you expose corruption in the arts community, people want to support positive change. The gallery door chimed. Harmony walked in, carrying a canvas covered in brown paper. Is that what I think it is? Cadence asked. Harmony nodded, carefully unwrapping her first completed painting since leaving Damon. I'm not sure it's good enough for— Stop, I interrupted. That's Michaela talking. Show us. The painting took our breath away. A woman emerging from a chrysalis. But the chrysalis was made of society pages and fashion magazines, crumbling away to reveal vibrant colors beneath. It's perfect for the showcase, Penny declared. Speaking of which, we need to discuss the opening night. We gathered around the planning table where Sarah was arranging a timeline. The developer's letting us use the theater for 1 night before renovations begin. We'll transform it into a multi-level gallery space. And look who RSVP'd, Felicity pulled up the guest list. Every major art critic in the state, 3 museum curators, and— The door chimed again. Damon walked in, looking uncomfortable. Can we talk? He asked me quietly. Outside, the autumn air was crisp. We walked in silence for a moment. Mother's leaving town, he finally said. Moving to Florida to live with her sister. Good. I'm sorry, Elise, for everything. For not seeing what was happening, for letting her control everything, for— Stop. I faced him. I'm not interested in apologies. What I care about is Kylie. That's why I'm here. I'm withdrawing the custody challenge. You're an amazing mother, and what we did, it wasn't right. Before I could respond, my phone rang. It was Maria. Turn on the local news, now. We rushed back inside just as Penny switched on the TV. Michaela was holding a press conference outside her mansion. These women are frauds, she declared, mascara running. I have proof their funding is based on lies. The autumn showcase will be a disaster, mark my words. What proof? Harmony scoffed. Doesn't matter, Felicity was already typing on her laptop. No one believes her anymore. In fact, yes, the Arts Foundation just tweeted their full support of the collective. She's desperate, Penny said, which makes her dangerous. We need to make this showcase absolutely perfect. For the next 2 weeks, we worked nonstop. The old theater came alive with scaffolding and lighting rigs. Artists worked side by side, creating installations that flowed from one to another. Even Kylie contributed, her children's art workshop space becoming a favorite feature. The night before the showcase, I found Harmony touching up her painting. Scared? I asked. Terrified, she admitted, but the good kind of terrified, like standing on the edge of something amazing. You know she'll try something tomorrow night. Let her. Harmony's brush moved confidently. We're stronger together. Dawn broke on showcase day with unexpected news. Michaela had posted online that she'd be holding a competing event at her home, featuring traditional, respectable art. Perfect, Penny said when she heard. Let her show exactly what we're breaking free from. The theater filled with last-minute preparations. Sarah directed lighting crews while Rebecca coordinated the catering. Maria's students arrived to help with setup, their energy infectious. "Mom!" Kylie called from her workshop space. "Look what we made!" She and the other children had created a massive collage of butterflies, each one carrying messages of hope and change. "That's going in the main entrance," Penny decided. "It's exactly what this night is about." As evening approached, I stepped outside for air. The line of people waiting to enter stretched around the block. News vans parked nearby, their cameras already rolling. Damon appeared beside me. "Need any last-minute help?" "Actually," I smiled. "We could use someone to manage the coat check." He laughed. "From controlling husband to coat check guy. Seems fair." Inside, the collective gathered for one final moment together before doors opened. Penny raised her glass. "Whatever happens tonight, remember this. Art isn't about power or control. It's about truth, our truth. Now let's show them what that looks like." We clinked glasses as the doors opened and the first guests entered. Through the windows, I could see Michaela's empty driveway across town, and I felt something unexpected, pity. But there was no time for that now. Our moment had arrived and we were ready to shine. The old theater pulsed with energy as hundreds of people moved through the transformed space. Critics scribbled in notebooks, photographers captured every detail, and collectors huddled in corners, discussing prices. "They love it," Cadence squeezed my arm, pointing to a group of museum curators examining Rebecca's installation. "They actually love it." A commotion near the entrance drew our attention. Michaela had arrived, wearing an evening gown that seemed excessive even for her. She wasn't alone. "Is that the state tax auditor?" Penny whispered, recognizing the stern-faced man beside Michaela. "Ladies and gentlemen," Michaela's voice carried across the room. "Before you waste any more time here, you should know that this entire operation is under investigation for financial irregularities." The room quieted. My heart raced as the auditor stepped forward, opening his briefcase. "Actually," a new voice cut through the tension, "that investigation was completed this morning." A woman in a sharp suit emerged from the crowd. "I'm Amanda Davis, head of the State Arts Commission, and the collective passed with flying colors." Michaela's face fell. "But you said—" "I said I'd look into their finances," the auditor replied. "I did. They're exemplary. You, on the other hand." He turned to face Michaela. "Have some explaining to do about certain discrepancies in your foundation's accounts." "This is ridiculous," Michaela's voice rose. "I built this town's art scene. I decided who succeeded and who—" "And that's exactly the problem," Amanda interrupted. "Art isn't about one person's control. It's about community, growth, and opportunity, which is why the Commission is proud to announce a full partnership with the collective." Applause erupted. Michaela staggered backward, bumping into Harmony's painting. Before anyone could react, she grabbed it. "You want community?" she snarled. "Here's your community." She moved to tear the canvas. "Stop!" Harmony's voice cracked like a whip. She stepped forward, tears in her eyes but head held high. "That painting is about you, Michaela, about how you tried to make me into your perfect society puppet, how you did the same to countless others. Look at it. Really look." The room held its breath as Michaela stared at the painting, the woman emerging from her chrysalis of social expectations and false pretenses. Michaela's hands trembled. "I was only trying to maintain standards." "No," I stepped forward. "You were trying to maintain control, but art isn't about control. It's about freedom." "Freedom?" She laughed bitterly. "Look what freedom got you, living in a friend's apartment, raising your daughter alone." "Building a movement," Penny added, "inspiring others, creating real change." "And not alone," Damon spoke up from where he'd been watching. "None of us are alone anymore. That's what you never understood, Mother. True art brings people together. It doesn't divide them." Michaela looked around the room, seeing perhaps for the first time how many people stood against her. Her grip on the painting loosened. "Security will escort you out," Amanda said quietly. "And the Commission will be in touch about those financial discrepancies." As Michaela was led away, the energy in the room transformed. People moved closer to Harmony's painting, seeing it with new understanding. Critics who'd been skeptical began writing furiously in their notebooks. "Mom!" Kylie ran up, her face glowing. "The nice lady from New York wants to buy my butterfly picture. Can I sell it?" I looked at Penny, who nodded encouragingly. "Of course you can, sweetie. How much do you want for it?" $1 million, she declared, making everyone laugh. "How about we start with something more reasonable?" The collector smiled, kneeling to Kylie's level. "And maybe you can make more for my gallery in Manhattan?" The rest of the evening passed in a blur of sales, interviews, and congratulations. The National Arts Foundation representative announced they were doubling their support for our New York showcase. 3 museums requested traveling exhibitions. Near midnight, as the crowd thinned, the collective gathered in Kylie's butterfly workshop space. "Final count," Felicity announced, checking her tablet. 87 pieces sold, total sales over $200,000, and that's not counting the commissions and exhibition deals. "But more importantly," Penny added, "look around. Look what we built together." We did. The theater hummed with possibility. Where there had been emptiness, now there was life. Where there had been silence, now there was conversation. Where there had been fear, now there was courage. "I just got a text from the auditor," Cadence said. "Michaela's foundation is being dissolved. All assets will be transferred to community arts programs." "Poetic justice," Rebecca smiled. "No," I corrected, watching Kylie show another child how to make paper butterflies. "Just justice." Outside, the autumn night was clear and cool. Stars sparkled above the old theater, now transformed into something new and vital. Tomorrow would bring challenges, renovations, programs to plan, a New York showcase to prepare for. But tonight, we celebrated not just victory over one person's control, but the birth of something larger than ourselves. A community, a movement, a revolution of color and truth and freedom. And it was beautiful. Perfect. I stepped back from the newly installed sign, the Collective Arts Center, where every voice matters. The old theater's facade gleamed in the morning sun, its Art Deco details restored to their former glory. "Ready for the big day?" Penny appeared beside me, carrying 2 coffee cups. As ready as I'll ever be, I accepted the coffee, watching students arrive for our first official classes. Young artists, retired hobbyists, and everyone in between streamed through the doors. "Guess who just pulled up?" Cadence called from inside. Through the front windows, I saw Harmony helping an elderly woman from a car. Michaela looked smaller somehow, less imposing in simple clothes without her usual perfect hair and makeup. "Are you sure about this?" Penny asked quietly. "Everyone deserves a chance to find their voice," I replied, remembering my own journey. "Even her." Michaela entered hesitantly, clutching a worn sketchbook. I saw the flyer for beginners' classes." "Welcome," I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. "Maria's teaching basic techniques in Studio 3. Before you go," Harmony touched her former mother-in-law's arm, "I saved you a spot next to me." Tears welled in Michaela's eyes as she followed Harmony upstairs. Through the open studio door, I heard Maria's warm welcome, the scratch of charcoal on paper, the murmur of encouragement. "Mom!" Kylie burst through the door. "The art supply truck is here. Can I help unpack?" "Hold on, wild thing," I laughed. "First, show our guest your new piece." Amanda from the State Arts Commission stood examining Kylie's latest work, a vibrant mixed-media piece combining painting and collage. "This is extraordinary," Amanda marveled. "How old did you say she is?" 8 going on 30, I smiled. "She's teaching a children's workshop next week." "Following in her mother's footsteps," Damon said from the doorway. He carried a box of supplies. "Where do you want these?" "Studio 4, Penny directed. "Rebecca's sculpture class starts in 20 minutes. The morning unfolded like a flower opening to the sun. In Studio 1, Sarah taught senior citizens to work with watercolors. Studio 2 hosted a photography workshop for teenagers. Upstairs, Felicity documented everything for a feature on community art spaces. During lunch break, I found Michaela sitting alone in the courtyard, staring at her sketch. "May I?" I gestured to the empty seat. She nodded, turning her sketchbook so I could see. The drawing was rough but honest, a small bird breaking free from a cage. I never told anyone, she said softly, but I used to paint. Before I married into society, before I became what I became, I thought I had to choose between art and respect. And now? Now I realize respect isn't about controlling art, it's about letting it breathe. From inside, we heard laughter. Kylie was showing other kids how to make her famous butterflies, their small hands creating wings of hope and possibility. We're having an evening showcase next week, I said. Student works, if you'd like to contribute. I'm not ready. She shook her head. But maybe someday. The afternoon brought more classes, more voices finding their strength through art. Terrence helped install new lighting in the gallery space, while Cadence organized the upcoming exhibition schedule. As evening approached, the collective gathered in what we now called the Heart, the central space where all the studios connected. First day stats, Felicity announced. 12 classes, 147 students, ages 8 to 82. Not bad for a bunch of rebellious artists. And wait until they see what's next, Penny grinned. The National Arts Foundation called. They want us to develop a template for community art centers across the country. Speaking of next, I pulled out a stack of papers. The State Commission approved our youth scholarship program, art supplies and classes for any kid who wants to learn, regardless of ability to pay. To new beginnings, Sarah raised her paint-stained coffee cup. And old endings, Harmony added, watching her former mother-in-law leave with a lighter step than she'd arrived with. Later, as I locked up, I found Kylie in my studio, adding final touches to her butterfly wall. Each paper wing carried a message of change, of growth, of possibility. Mom, she said thoughtfully, are we rich now? I laughed. Not in money, baby. But in everything that matters? Yeah, we're pretty rich. Outside, the sunset painted the sky in colors no artist could perfectly capture, but we'd never stop trying. Tomorrow would bring new classes, new challenges, new opportunities to help others find their voice. But tonight, standing in our transformed space, surrounded by the evidence of what happens when people dare to create change, I felt something settle in my soul. Not an ending exactly. More like a beginning that kept beginning, every day, with every brushstroke, every sculpture, every photograph, every voice that finally dared to speak its truth. And that was the most beautiful masterpiece of all.